we good to go? What do you think? Ready to go?
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the City of Lincoln Regular City Council meeting. I'm going to put this forward a little bit over here, January 13th, 2006. Before we start, we'd love to have an invocation first from Rabbi Yankee Hecht. Rabbi, if you would please step forward.
Almighty God, we ask that you look with favor upon the mayor and the honorable members of the city council of our beloved city of Lincoln. Bless these devoted leaders who have been entrusted with the responsibility of guiding our community through law and policy. May we recognize that their work is not only a civic duty, but a sacred calling, a God-given mission that reflects one of the 7 universal laws given to all humanity, to establish justice and to build a peaceful and moral society. A society rooted in the awareness of you, God, as the sovereign of all people and all nations. Grant these public servants insight, wisdom, and clarity as they strive to uphold justice and fairness. Guide their hearts and minds to act with integrity, honesty, and compassion. May they find the strength to meet today's challenges with courage and the vision to sow seeds that will bring lasting growth and blessing for generations to come. In moments of disagreement and division, remind us that darkness is not overcome by force, but by light. Even a single flame can illuminate what once seemed shadowed. May the city of Lincoln stand as a shining example for people of every faith and background, and may we soon witness the fulfillment of Isaiah's timeless vision. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. I will conclude with a prayer in Hebrew, followed by its translation in English. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, alinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May he who makes peace in the heavens bring peace upon us, and let us say amen.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi. I think it was 3 weeks ago, we had the honor and privilege, Councilmember Andriotta, Chief Alves, and myself to participate in the opening of the Chabad Jewish Learning Center in the Brand Feeds building. I think there were about 30 or 40 people there. It was a very lovely event. From there, we went into Bierman Plaza and we lit the menorah candles, and that was very lovely also. So we're very happy to have you here. Originally, you were meeting in your home first, as I understand, and then you were meeting in the Lincoln Library. So we're overjoyed that you are becoming a member of the downtown community. We look forward to participating with you and whatever we can do to support you and your congregation. So thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again in the very near future. We normally have when we have I'm going to call it a ribbon cutting, when we have new members to our community. We were not able to get it together for that particular presentation, so we're taking this time now to welcome you officially. We do have a proclamation here, so I'm going to read it. Proclamation of the City Council of the City of Lincoln recognizing and welcoming Chabad Jewish Center. Whereas Chabad Jewish Center of Lincoln serves as a religious, cultural, and intellectual home for the Jewish community, offering programs and services that enrich the spiritual and communal life of residents of all backgrounds. And whereas Chabad is a philosophical and educational movement that emphasizes understanding the Creator and recognizing the unique mission and value of every individual. And whereas Chabad of Lincoln is an inclusive community where all are welcome, regardless of background, affiliation, or level of religious observance. And whereas Chabad of Lincoln builds upon and enhances the work of Chabad of Placer County by supporting the growing Jewish population in and around the city of Lincoln, And whereas Shabbat of Lincoln previously utilized the Lincoln Library as a meeting venue and now has established a permanent home in the Brand Feeds Building, Suite 202. And whereas on December 21st, Shabbat of Lincoln formally dedicated its new location with Mayor Richard Pearl, City Council Member Holly Andrada, and Lincoln Police Chief Matt Alves officially welcoming the organization to its new home. Therefore, now I, Richard Pearl, Mayor, and on behalf of the City of Lincoln, do hereby welcome Rabbi Yankee Hecht and his wife Shani Hecht, their family, 3 young children, and the Lincoln Jewish community, and extend our best wishes as they gather in their new place of meeting and worship. Rabbi, if you would please, and Shani, if, did I see her? She is here also. If you would join us, and if we can get the council up here also, let's grab a photo op. Okay, roll call, please.
Thank you. Councilmember Andriotta,
Present.
Councilmember Reedy,
Here.
Councilmember Brown,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Eklund,
Yes.
Mayor
Here.
Pearl.
Here. Report from closed session of allegiance. Mark Andriotta, would you please lead us in the pledge?
And on item number 7, there is no reportable action.
Agenda modifications, anyone from the city council?
Mayor, it's my understanding that your preference would be to move item number 15, which is council-initiated business, to after item 10, public comment.
Any comments on that? Anyone else from the council would like to make any adjustments? No. Staff? Okay, presentations? Have any, so we're good. There, public comments. So I'd like to welcome everyone. We have an overflow audience here downstairs as well as here. So we're going to be going through the public comment. I'm going to read something because we have more people here than we normally have, and people may not have been here before, so there are a number of protocols that we do. We want to make sure that everyone is heard respectfully. And as we say, we have a lot of people here. There are several ways that people can address us. We have this room here, we have our room downstairs, and then we'll have Zoom. We'll be using this room first, then we'll go downstairs for public comment downstairs, and we'll finish up with Zoom. Well, first of all, you should make sure that if you have your cell phones or pagers, if anyone still has a pager, but if you have cell phones, please mute it. As we go through the presentations, we do have a number of folks who are wanting to speak, and we ask that you do fill out a card. It makes life a little bit easier for us. It's not necessary, but we ask you if you could do that. A couple of things just to keep in mind. There are a lot of people here tonight. We anticipate a number of people speaking. It is our duty to listen to every single person respectfully. We ask the same courtesy for everyone in the room and certainly on Zoom at the same time. One thing to please keep in mind, we know that sometimes people get very enthusiastic, shall I say, about comments that are being made, either for or against a position that they might have. Please, we have to make sure that we respect everyone. So please refrain from either clapping, saying anything significant, gesturing, hooting, whatever. We want to be respectful of everyone. We don't want to intimidate anyone at all. We want to make sure that everyone has their time. And speaking of time, we have a procedure here of 3 minutes. Generally, we try to keep it to that. Occasionally, we allow it to go on just a little bit longer. For tonight, we are going to have to enforce the 3 minutes. Frankly, we don't know how long the public comment is going to go on. We want to make sure that everyone is heard. So please, we will be timing. And we just want to make sure, please keep that in mind. So as the gong goes off, we don't have a gong yet, but I think we may have a gong in the future. But we'll let you know if you're coming up onto the closing time. So please keep your remarks to 3 minutes, and we'll get through everyone. So good. I think fine. We know what is blocking any exits or anything over here, so we are good to go. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So as your name is called, please approach the podium and be prepared to provide your public comment. As the next speaker is announced, please also come forward and wait in the aisle. First speaker is Karen Meredith, followed by Ruth Coy. Cox.
My name is Karen Meredith. I'm a resident of Lincoln, and I vote. I am here to share my thoughts on the unfortunate homophobic, racist, and disturbing appearance of Holly Andreatta at a December student meeting at 12 Bridges High School. Her support of Christian nationalism undermines religious freedom and the secular nature of the separation of church and state as described in the First Amendment. Despite Ms. Andreatta's protest that she didn't know she was being recorded, current media has shown that any public official should expect to be recorded anytime. Another error in judgment. Per her bio on the City Council website, Holly's goals are to serve with honesty, integrity, and accountability, working with the city staff, community leaders, and residents to keep Lincoln the special place that she loves. She did not fulfill these goals last December. I have lost confidence in Ms. Andreatta as a representative of Lincoln. The solution is to censor Holly Andreatta and to remove her from all committees. Anything less is a betrayal of the residents of Lincoln who deserve honesty, kindness, integrity, and ethical standards from our city council. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, may you call the next speaker in line?
Sure. Next speaker is Marjorie Prophet.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. You will have in your email a document I prepared, which I've entered into the record, which analyzes the statements made by Ms. Andreatta at the Club America meeting on December 11th and the damaging impact of her remarks, including threats to students on both sides of the issues discussed and Andreatta's own family, and the subsequent conduct misrepresenting what she actually said and blaming others for the harm that was caused by her own words. I based my analysis on the full unedited audio recording of Ms. Andreatta's remarks. At this juncture, the council's primary responsibilities are to establish the facts, assess the impact, and respond appropriately. I recommend taking the following into consideration. Ms. Andreatta was identified as Lincoln's mayor in her introduction at the Club America meeting. Her appearance was as an elected official speaking in a public forum, not as a private citizen with an expectation of privacy. Ms. Andreatta misrepresented a foundational constitutional principle by stating the separation of church and state is a myth. If she only meant that the exact phrase does not appear verbatim, she failed to say so. Promotion of harmful racial tropes and misinformation about DEI. Ms. Andreatta characterized DEI programs as hiring someone solely based on the color of their skin, not on qualifications. A statement that stigmatizes people of color and misstates the purpose and documented benefits of DEI initiatives. And she repeated Charlie Kirk's claims that misrepresented a United Airlines program to increase diversity in their pilot force. Promotion of harmful homophobic tropes. Ms. Andreatta clearly stated, my daughter experienced a trauma as a child, something no child should ever have to experience, and as a result, she is a lesbian. Such statements stigmatize LGBTQ plus individuals as having been damaged. Inaccurate and damaging claims about Dr. Martin Luther King. Ms. Andreatta relayed assertions that Dr. King was a Marxist and socialist. Dr. King's philosophy of nonviolent civil disobedience and his consistent rejection of authoritarianism and government ownership of the means of production are central to his legacy and should not be dismissed without rigorous evidence. These statements echo the tenets of white Christian nationalism, and that should be of great concern to every citizen in Lincoln. To be clear, I have no objection to being white, being Christian, or espousing national pride, but when these elements coalesce, they form a political ideology rooted in white supremacy and which seeks to eliminate the separation of church and state. These are not the values of the majority of Lincolnites. Finally, Ms. Andreatta has violated the Lincoln Code of Ethics and Conduct for elected and appointed officials, which stipulates that officials must serve as models of leadership and act in a manner that upholds public trust. Censure is the appropriate formal mechanism to the council to dissociate itself from behavior that contravenes its ethical standards and to discourage others from mimicking this behavior, which will reduce the risk of division and violence in our community. I ask the council to show some courage as those who have
Next speaker is Donnell Collins.
Oh, they said Margaret Prophet.
You're next, following.
Mine'll be short and sweet. Hi, council. I came today to thank my friend Holly for being a timeless advocate for Lincoln. Since your election in 2018, you've brought wisdom and compassion to the council and to the city. Your leadership has advanced fiscal responsibility, public safety, park improvements, and a business-friendly environment that strengthens our families and economy. But what I admire most about you is how you have continued to serve and lead with grace and integrity amid constant criticism and attack. Lincoln is better because of you, Holly. Thank you for your unwavering commitment, and I'm very proud to call you my friend. I love you. God bless you.
Following the next speaker is Rita.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. These attacks on Councilmember Andreatta are baseless nonsense. Her private off-duty remarks at a voluntary student club meeting did not violate her oath of office. They were protected First Amendment speech. The oath protects our Constitution, not hurt feelings, and disagreement doesn't equal a violation. It's fundamentally wrong and a clear violation of First Amendment principles for this council to consider any censure, condemnation, or punitive action simply because some dislike her views, find them offensive, or claim they hurt their feelings. Elected officials have the same rights as every citizen to express personal opinions outside official duties without government retaliation. Punishing unpopular speech sets a dangerous precedent that could silence any council member based on shifting outrage. These calls for censure are political bullying. They hate her views, so they demand punishment. If you cave, you suppress free speech and invite mob rule over opinions. Censure must be reserved for clear violations of law, ethics, or official misconduct, not off-duty personal speech. Allowing feelings-based complaints to drive discipline would chill expression for everyone. Her role is defined and limited, setting policy, adopting budgets, passing ordinances, and guiding Lincoln's direction under a council manager government. You represent the community, but you're not required to conform to every resident's personal beliefs or private views. Your oath applies to official capacity, not to policing off-duty speech. The council has no authority to punish private expression from an elected official. Doing so blurs government and individual rights, undermining democracy. Is that what you want to do here? There's no misconduct. This is manufactured outrage. A lawsuit will be filed against you for violating her First Amendment rights if you pursue any action against her related to this protected speech. Reject any resolution to censure outright. Just because a situation might make you feel uncomfortable doesn't give you the legal right to silence her. Our city needs leaders who prioritize constitutional principles over emotional reactions. Let's get back to doing things that matter in Lincoln, like stopping TGI. Thank you.
Following this speaker is Sandy Dolby.
Hello, my name is Rita Pizziali. I'm a resident of Lincoln, and I am here to strongly urge you to reject any proposal to censor, reprimand, or otherwise sanction Councilmember Holly Andreatta for activities or statements made in her personal time. The personal views she expressed at a Club America meeting in a non-city related event do not relate to the performance of her official duties. The reason she was invited had nothing to do with city council representation, and there was no violation of city ethics rules. Any consequence you impose will set a very dangerous precedent for anyone who takes offense to a statement made by a city official can call for disciplinary action and be successful. Are you really prepared to deal with that situation? You perpetuate this behavior by giving it any credibility. You need to end this tonight. I caution you not to fall prey to a small percentage of woke-minded, loudmouth people who disagree with strong Christian values being expressed and decide to create havoc. This amounts to a viewpoint-based retaliation that undermines core democratic principles. Whatever differences exist regarding her personal views or actions, they do not justify formal council intervention or institutional punishment for non-official conduct. The First Amendment provides significant constitutional protection here. Holly's record should speak for itself. She has consistently advocated for fiscal responsibility, championed community safety, worked diligently on infrastructure improvements, and served our city with dedication and integrity. I respectfully ask each of you to reject any effort for any and all disciplinary action against Councilmember Holly Andreatta. Thank you.
Next speaker on deck is Jennifer Johnson.
Good evening. My name is Sandy Dolby. I am the president of Lavender Friends, a club for LGBTQ residents and their allies in Sun City, Lincoln Hills. First, I want to thank Councilwoman Andreatta for giving up part of her Saturday afternoon this last weekend and meeting with 72 of our members to listen to their anger and their dismay over these now infamous remarks. In that group were Republicans, Democrats, and no party preference people united in one goal: to share how what she did was just plain wrong. At the end of the meeting, I made a personal suggestion that I'd like to repeat tonight. She could end the divide that you're seeing in this room right now. It is something unusual but not unprecedented. I believe she could agree to be censored, to admit she strayed into conduct unbecoming an elected official of this city. Just as she led the charge 3 years ago as mayor to censure the late city councilman William Lawrenson for getting caught on camera lashing out at a businessman, she should lead the charge here. Remember what she told him? Bill, your actions jeopardized our reputation not only in Placer County, but statewide. It's humiliating. We are held to a higher standard. Now, 3 years later, she is caught on camera offering up a dizzying array of homophobic fiction, revisionist history, and an exclusionary version of Christian nationalism to a group of impressionable minors at a public high school. She threw our U.S. Constitution and our laws under the bus, violating the precious oath of office that she took to uphold and defend both of them. And forget jeopardizing our reputation in Placer County and the state. Try across the nation. Let's set aside the folly also that she was a private citizen speaking with her personal opinion. The entire time she spoke, there was a giant slide projected next to her calling her mayor, not pastor, not Mrs., but mayor of Lincoln. For goodness sake, for fairness sake, agree to be censured. This is not a popularity contest. It is a contest much more important than that. Be accountable to this breach in civic conduct and let the healing begin.
Next speaker on deck is Carol Edwards.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Johnson, and I have lived in Lincoln for 14 years. I'm speaking tonight in support of Councilmember Holly Andreatta and her right to free speech in her capacity as a private individual. I do not support any motion to censor or penalize Ms. Andreatta, period. Any action that would set the council on a continuous path like that is like, you might as well become the speech police, because that's what would happen. You'd be continuously fighting that. Let's start with a quick refresher on the First Amendment. It states in the beginning, Congress shall not make any law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech. Those two items are further shored up by the Fourth Amendment to ensure that elected officials in all branches of government, which includes city government, are afforded these protections of their God-given rights to personal freedom of speech and free exercise of religion when acting in a private capacity outside of their official duties. I state that this was the case when Ms. Andreatta addressed an officially sanctioned student club at Western Placer Unified School District a few weeks ago, but let's go a little bit further. What is the intended meaning behind these principles in the amendments? It's about, number one, personal belief, and the two, private speech. It means officials do not forfeit or can be stripped of that constitutional right upon taking office, especially when not acting in that official capacity, which she was not. So it's pretty clear to me, and I think others here, that Ms. Andreatta's speech that day does not suddenly become government speech. It's just sharing her personal thoughts that others may not agree with, but it is her right to do so. So no official past or future city business was damaged that I can tell. So in closing, I've heard some things I'm not very happy with, but I will just say the thing that was most distressing about this whole event was the harassment that all of you have probably incurred, and definitely Ms. Andreatta incurred, and her family. That is bullying, and it has no place in Lincoln. That's not how we live here. They did not engage in civil discourse. It was reprehensible speech, complete with biased, deliberate, and erroneous reporting sometimes by members of the press. So I'm going to say again, I would firmly convince you, please, do not censor, do not take any action. Ms. Andreatta acted appropriately. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker on deck is Carrie Geiger.
So my name is Carol Edwards. I do not support anything about this censure business. I've watched Holly as the mayor of Lincoln, going to functions in Sun City, Lincoln Hills, where I live, coffee with the mayor, Veterans Day remembrances, ceremonies, and Holly's always been available to us and will answer all of our questions. She's never deceived any of us, and I really got to know her very well when the Gathering Inn fiasco began. She's a staunch supporter of the city of Lincoln. Her work with other council members unearthing the underpayment of our property taxes from Placer County and the percentages that Placer County gives the city of Lincoln was a big deal for all of us. She's always been truthful and honest, and I truly believe the only reason this is happening now is I feel this type of attack, like a targeted sort of hit on her, is because she's been such a staunch opponent of the Gathering In, which is being backed by the state of California and Attorney General Rob Bonta's office. I cannot believe that this is happening to such a fine person and such a good person who represents us so well. And I do not agree with the censure. Stand strong, Holly. We love you.
Next speaker on deck is Lenore Ward.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Carrie Geiger, and I'm a Lincoln resident. And in recent weeks, our community has been subject to a wave of personal attacks directed at Councilwoman Holly Andreatta. As a Lincoln resident who values truth and civil discourse, I can't remain silent while this dedicated public servant and friend is targeted by a campaign of distortion, including threats of violence toward her and her family. It's deeply disheartening to witness the baseless accusation of racism, bigotry, and homophobia being leveled against her. Anyone who knows Holly knows that her character is defined by a profound respect, I would even say love, for every member of this community, regardless of their background or lifestyle. Smear campaigns rely on the hope that if an untruth is told often enough and loud enough, that people will eventually believe it to be truth. These smears directed at Holly are not only inaccurate, but they're a direct contradiction of her record of inclusivity and fair-minded leadership. To those who are attempting to, and I quote, take her down, I say truth will be the only one standing at the end of the race, and truth is on Holly's side. Thank you.
Next speaker on deck is Steve Bringman.
Hi, Holly. My name's Lenore Ward. I moved here 2.5 years ago to an area that I knew nothing about. Holly was one of the first impressionable people that I got to know, and felt comfortable moving here into an area. I'm sorry, I wasn't going to speak, but when I heard what was happening to Holly, it just blows my mind. I'm a very avid supporter of Charlie Kirk and his crusade of proving him wrong. And all of his high school chapters and his university chapters. What's the purpose of those chapters? Is to get you to engage in conversation. And that's what Holly was doing. Yes, there's people on this side, there's people on this side. You got to combine them and get them to talk. And that's what Holly was doing. She has her free speech ability to give her point of view. She did. She did not say anything that Charlie did not say. I listened to Charlie's speeches about the DEI pilots and the Marxist comments that he made about the others. She was just following what he said. She believed in what he said. I believe in what he said. We all have the right to free speech. Whether you like it or not, it's a get together and we talk about it. Prove her wrong, that's okay. But listen to what she had to say, what the kids are thinking, right and left, and non-political base. Give her the opportunity to prove you wrong. I pray that you guys think about what actions you might take. I didn't even know this was happening to her. It's just kind of sad that the society we live in right now at this present time is out of control. Just listen to one another is all I'm saying. Give her the right to prove you wrong.
Next speaker on deck is Stan Nader.
Good evening. My name is Steve Bringman. I live in Sun City, Lincoln Hills. Mayor Pearl, council, guests. I'm here to talk tonight about practicing citizenship and not censoring it, not silencing it. It's absurd. And when I use the word absurd, that's not a bad word. It means it's illogical. There's no logic at all to censor, admonish, ask Holly Andriata to resign for comments that she made in December at 12 Bridges High School for Club America. What we should be more concerned about is the death threats that her family, Mark here, her daughter has received. I grew up in LA County. I know what happens when things like this start. They end up in riots. There's 10 million people in LA. There's 500,000 maybe in Placer County. If we don't stop the battling, the mudslowing, and everything that has been directed to Holly's family's way, it's going to be a difficult time here in Lincoln. Now, let me tell you a story. I met my best friend Dan in 7th grade. Danny Patinama. That last name is an Indonesian name. His parents migrated out of Indonesia separately in the 40s. Well, it wasn't really a migration. It was an adventure from death. The Japanese came to the Southeast Asia, into Indonesia, and they were killing people. They were censoring citizenship. They were silencing free speech. And we say that throughout Europe. You saw what happened to 5 or 6 million Jews in Europe when the fascists decided to, hey, you can't talk, you do it our way. Lou and Ellie, Dan's parents, ended up in Amsterdam separately again in the 40s. Eventually, they made it to Cerritos, California in the 60s. What they taught Dan, my best friend, they taught Dan how to listen, how to ask the question, tell me more. Many a times, Dan and I were together, and I was at Lou and Ellie's house. We went many soccer games together. We would ride 2 hours in the car. In high school, we wore the same suit for pictures, senior pictures. I had a dark jacket, brown. He wore the same one. We put on a clip-on tie. His skin was so dark, he looked much better than I did. But what I learned from Dan from 7th grade till when I was about 25 years old, that's when the family kicks in and the mortgage and the...
Sir, could you please conclude? Please conclude, yes. Yes, it is.
Not sanction Holly for what she said. She did nothing but emphasize free speech. If there was a student in that classroom that felt a little bit uncomfortable, isn't that what we want our students to do? They want to see both sides of the story so they could go home and make a decision as to what's
Sir,
right.
thank you very much.
Thank you,
Please,
Mr.
we have-
Pearl.
Thank you.
Next speaker on deck is Linda Young Mayor.
Mr. Mayor and Council, my name is Stan Nader. I live in the 12 Bridges area. Every council member looks forward to their turn to serve as mayor for their colleagues and the city at large. It is an honor and privilege, not a right, to serve in that position. One of the challenges of serving as mayor is there are times you must represent the majority on a particular issue in which you took a minority stance. The goal of a mayor is to seek to unify the council as they determine what is best for the city and the citizens and its citizens. The action the council took on December 9th is to establish the mayoral rotation is done and over. But I would like to address the concerns I have about the process that was used. I was disappointed when Ben declined to step into the mayoral position from his seat as vice mayor. Given the fact that the council is operating under the current Municipal Code 2.06 regarding mayoral rotations, which has not been amended since the council has been elected based on districting. There's a legal term called precedent, with a T, which means when governing bodies are exercising their authority, they are to follow well-established practices. Since the council has not amended Municipal Code 2.06, there has been a standing practice that the mayoral rotation is based on how the council members are seated on the dais, meaning that when Ben declined becoming mayor, the person to his right, which was John Reedy, would be the next mayor. I did not hear him decline to take that position. When the item came up on the agenda, there was very little discussion and gave the appearance that the process was being orchestrated. The presence of the family members of Councilmember Pearl and Eklund in the audience made it appear that advanced discussion out of the public view had taken place as to how the council would do on their December 9th meeting. The proper thing the council should have done was to amend the Municipal Code 2.06 during their meeting before making their decision, something that staff has been asking them to do. At least they should have
Thank you, Stan.
Next on deck is Garrett Culp. Is Linda in the room to speak? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Linda Youngmeyer, and I have lived in this area for about 5 years now. And I would like to encourage you to consider censure. Censure is different than censoring. I heard that. Censoring means cutting out speech, not having speech. Censure is a way of public rebuke. The reason that I think that this is appropriate is because of the poor judgment that was shown by speaking at such a controversial group. And I know there are people on both sides, and that Turning Point USA can be very popular and people like Charlie Kirk. But all it takes is a simple Google search to look at the controversy that it stirs up. The result of that, of not thinking through maybe the decision to go out to a public institution with a logo of mayor, and 5 minutes after you're no longer mayor, and talking about things that are very controversial, it has stirred up. It's stirred up issues that make students feel unsafe, make families feel unsafe on both sides, and make many residents of Lincoln feel embarrassed, humiliated. And I have had people, I'm not from around here, call and say, ooh, where do you live? It sounds like a little white Christian nationalist place. And the speech, it got out of control. And somebody should have considered this before they decided to do this. I am a former retired educator, and I worked with programs called Safe and Civil Schools. I think the big problem that occurred here is as a result of Holly Andretti's actions, nobody feels safer. Students don't feel safer. Families don't seem to feel safer. Civil, I don't even think this seems very civil. And here we are at a city council meeting discussing national politics. I shouldn't know any of your politics. You shouldn't know mine. That is not the business of what you are elected to do. You're elected to be nonpartisan. So I think it makes sense to act in a nonpartisan way. I do think there might have been a way that, and I don't think that Ms. Andretta intended to do this at all. I really don't. I think it was just poor judgment. And maybe there would have been a way that she could have gone to the group and spoke to them only about her daughter and her personal experience, but she went way beyond and into issues that become curricular, that become controversial, and I did that again with the sign of being mayor of Lincoln and speaking as a representative. Thank you.
Next on deck is Brandon Culp.
Good evening. My name is Garrett Culp, and I'm the president of Club America at 12 Bridges High School. And I, along with my other officers, were the ones who invited Ms. Andriotta to speak. The purpose of our club and our meetings is to create respectful, open dialogue between individuals with differing viewpoints. We aim to encourage critical thinking, civil discourse, and mutual understanding through activities such as guest speakers, slideshow presentations, and open discussions. We invited Ms. Andriotta, a local council member and former mayor, to our inaugural meeting to give students the chance to hear the perspective of a local elected official and challenge existing viewpoints. During our meeting, both Andriotta and students asking questions did so respectfully and created an environment that fostered open discussion, an essential skill for young Americans who are the future of America. While some students claim they felt unsafe as a result of our meeting, it's important to remember that disagreement through dialogue is not a threat to safety. Disagreement through dialogue is essential to learning and to a healthy society. It challenges us, broadens our understanding, and helps us grow. Our meeting was attended by school administrators to ensure no school conduct codes were violated and student safety was not at risk. To Ms. Andriotta, you have done a phenomenal job in your position, and we are grateful that you spoke at our meeting. We will continue to pray for you and your family. Thank you.
Next on deck is Matthew Oliver.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Culp. I am a resident of Lincoln, parent of Garrett at the high school there. And I would like to say that I'm here tonight to speak in support of Holly and more importantly to the principles that allow our community to remain strong, open, and democratic. Recent attention has been placed on the remarks that Holly is alleged to have made in a Club America student led club at 12 Bridges High School. The media, with a surreptitiously recorded video of Holly taken out of context, have tried to play got you to silence her and free speech. Regardless how anyone feels about those remarks, we should all agree on one thing. Listening to ideas, especially the ones that we may disagree with, is not harmful, it is essential. At its core, the student-led club exists to explore ideas rooted in free market, limited government, and American exceptionalism. The belief that this nation's founding principles of liberty and opportunity are worth studying, debating, and preserving. I encourage you to take no action to censure Holly or what she had done on her own time at the Club America meeting. I stand with Holly not because everyone must agree, but because free expression, civic engagement, and intellectual diversity are foundations in education and to our republic. Thank you.
Next on deck is Isabella.
Members of the Lincoln City Council, Mayor Pearl, Councilmember Andriotta, thank you for the opportunity to speak and share. My name is Matthew Oliver, and I'm an active member of this community. I felt compelled to speak because the discussion of censure or public rebuke, even the possibility of it, deserves careful thought and consideration. As a reminder, the Republican Central Committee has endorsed all members of this council, including the council member whose statements are now being debated. And because of that, I sincerely hope we do not see colleagues turning against one another or taking steps that would unnecessarily divide the body or place our support in jeopardy. It is wild that those of a party who say they fight for free speech are here tonight trying to censor someone for their speech. But I want to be clear that I support this council member's right to free speech. Censure, or that rebuke, should be an extraordinary measure reserved for clear misconduct, like assaulting a member of their community. Not for speech that may be unpopular, challenging, or uncomfortable. Disagreement is a part of our leadership. Debate is a part of our democracy, and differing viewpoints are exactly why people run for office in the first place. There's a quote often attributed to Evelyn Beatrice Hall that captures this moment well. I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to death your right to say it. City Council functions best when members can speak openly, challenging ideas and representing their constituents without fear of formal punishment for their words. Once we move toward censoring speech, even with good intention, we risk chilling honest discussion and weakening public trust. I would also like to gently remind that the council why the people elected you in the first place. Residents are focused on real issues: our parks, public safety, infrastructure, responsible growth, and the day-to-day quality of life in this city, which is amazing, by the way. They did not send you here to referee hurt feelings or to police speech, but to govern, collaborate, and solve problems. And when council spend time censoring one another, it distracts you from the important work the public expects and deserves. Choosing restraint here allows the body to move forward, refocus on city business, and demonstrates a maturity and unity, even sometimes in disagreement. So I respectfully urge this council to choose dialogue over discipline, restraint over reaction, and unity over division. Lincoln deserves a council that it can disagree without silencing one another. Thank you much.
Hello. So, hi everyone. My name is Isabella Work, and I'm the secretary of the Club America chapter at 12 Bridges High School. And I wanted to share a bit about my experience at the meeting where Ms. Andriotta spoke. So, I attended both the speech and the Q&A portion that followed. And I was impressed by how openly and calmly she discussed her life and experiences. She expressed her perspective in a respectful and measured manner, making it clear that her goal was to spark dialogue rather than offend or single anyone out. I believe that there's real value in hearing from individuals with different backgrounds and viewpoints. Doing so allows us to listen, reflect, and form our own opinions, which is an essential part of learning and personal growth. And this is what Ms. Andriotta did. She allowed us to hear a different perspective and then form our own opinions about the topics discussed. Through this experience surrounding Club America, our community has been able to express their opinions more openly than ever before, and especially across a wide range of perspectives, which is amazing. Ms. Andriotta spoke about leadership and the lessons that she has learned along the way. And to be clear, whether everyone agreed with everything she said or not, she allowed space for open dialogue rather than conflict. Encouraging this kind of respectful exchange is a core value of our club. Ms. Andriotta, you have done an amazing job in your position, and I want you to know that the members of this community see your character beyond the noise and are keeping you in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Mayor Pearl, we have no other speaker cards.
How are we going to move down to downstairs then? I'm sorry, thank you very much. Anyone else who should say, Mr. Chapman?
No other cards.
Thank you. My name is Byron Chapman, 12 Bridges area, mayor, council members. I'm going to change this up a little bit. My particular item has to do with ADA issues. In the last 5 months, I've turned in 2 ADA complaint forms to the city. The first one was on August the 25th, 2025. And then I also brought it to the council's attention on the 26th at a city council meeting. And I presented all the documents of that complaint. Then let's fast forward to the second one. It was done on October the 13th and also shared with the council again at the council meeting on October the 14th. At the very beginning, from the one in August and the one up through and giving as of the April one, I have had absolutely no word, no conversation, no type of literature, nothing whatsoever from the city of Lincoln regarding that first ADA complaint form. Then we move on to the second one, and thank goodness, the day after on the day of the city council meeting, Mr. Wahub Foot sent me an email stating that he had gotten the complaint and that he would be looking into it. I was very encouraged by that. However, that was the first and only comment I've had from the city of Lincoln. So we've been looking at just short of 5 months with no communication from the city of Lincoln, and exactly 3 months for the one that took place in April. So my problem with this is the city of Lincoln, just a quick background, was 21 years late on the party. The city of Lincoln was 21 years late. They did not have their first evaluation transition plan in place until 2021. Excuse me, 2011, 21 years. 21 years and nothing other than grinding some curbs. When I brought this to the city's attention, did the city listen? Unfortunately, no. I brought it up many, many times. I'm a person where I speak my mind. What I tell you is exactly what it is. My mom, my dad, they taught me a couple of things in this world. One was integrity. Two, you have to make your name for yourself. Your word should be just as good as any agreement that you put down on paper without the ink. And so what has happened in this, it has become a struggle. For 14 years, I have struggled with the city of Lincoln. This particular scenario, how this handles, is basically what we need to do is we need to bring this together because unfortunately, this is not working. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Anyone else would like to speak in the council chambers? Going once, going twice, 3 times. Okay. Madam Clerk, how do we handle downstairs now?
Sure. So we have staff that is available and they will be asking the public speakers to approach the podium downstairs and we will be able to see them on the monitor. So staff, if you're able to call that first speaker up to the podium to present public comment.
Sure. First speaker we have is Gloria Eason. On deck is Angelica Alderas. Yes.
Yeah, my name is Gloria Egan. I just moved to Sun City in July and I had the privilege of meeting Holly at one of the coffees. And I'm here to speak in favor of Holly. I cannot say enough good things about her. I've read a lot. I've worked with them in the community and I stand with Holly. I do not think any action should be taken against her. She did nothing wrong. I also want to applaud the young people that came forward and spoke that were actually at the meeting. And I thought that's very cool of them. So thank you, Holly, for all your work. We stand with you and we love you.
On deck we have Marguerite.
Hi, my name is Angie Banderas, Angelica Banderas, and I'm here to speak on behalf of Holly Andrade. I'm a lifelong resident here of Lincoln, and I understand some people are here asking for her resignation or censure over comments she made at 12 Bridges school club event. I likely disagree with Holly on many issues, and I am a lifelong Democrat. My parents were both union members. Her personal beliefs are between her and her family, and she's already addressed them. This is not a city issue. This is a school issue. It's for the school administration and the school district, along with the parents of those kids that were there, that were involved to deal with it. Let me address the bullying issue aspect that is brought up often As I mentioned, I grew up here in Lincoln. I went to GEMS. I went to Lincoln High School. As a kid, I was called beaner, wetback, taco. I was even beat up at 8 years old, defending my 5-year-old brother. Bullying should never be tolerated, but unfortunately it exists. It exists everywhere. It exists in school. It exists in work. It even exists in boardrooms. This is not a left or a right issue. Some of the worst discrimination I personally have experience have been in places like Manhattan and in Mendocino. Finally, I'd like to remind everybody, phones are everywhere. Conversations are recorded without context. How many of us would want every private moment made public? Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Holly should be allowed to finish her term. People should judge her record, and I'm here to support her. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Marguerite Schellentrager, and I've provided a letter through your clerk on more detailed statement concerning this issue. As I expressed in my letter, I have a high regard for local elected officials because I used to work with them and for them. I also believe that they should represent and adhere to the highest standards of conduct. It's my opinion that Councilmember Andreatta violated those standards due to her presence and comments at the Club America meeting. Her conduct was self-serving for purposes of her political campaign for County Board of Supervisors. She was actually accompanied by a person, another politician who endorsed her. Her comments to these public school students were irresponsible and they're factual untruths, some of which has been talked about. Negative and disparaging comments regarding Martin Luther King, language endorsing a religious view condemning same-sex relationships. She was presenting as an elected official serving the city of Lincoln, running for another office, a political appearance in an official capacity. That's the problem. Her actions have caused disruption in the community and the student body of 12 Bridges, and I believe some appropriate consequence should be issued by the council. And I'm not recommending what. It's up to you, obviously. But to ignore the incident is to countenance it, and people have been upset by this and hurt by it. I urge you to support the principles of civility and decorum that should govern the actions of all elected officials. Think before we speak. We are elected officials. We must be careful. We can renew our moral compass of high standards of conduct from our elected officials. Responsive action can reassure the public that each of you represents all the residents of this city, not those just enjoy your personal views. It would restore confidence and integrity and provide a positive outcome to an unfortunate situation. We are one community and we're in this together. And I'd like to see some sort of acknowledgement of the problem when you raise this derision and divisiveness. Thank you for your time.
Pastor Carmen. On deck, we have Dan and Tanya.
Tanya.
Good evening, Mayor Pearl, council members, city officials, City of Lincoln community members. I would like to take this moment to share some words I have written down about Councilmember Holly Andreatta. I have known Councilmember Andreatta for almost 3 years now. My friendship with her began as I became co-pastor of Light of Restoration Church. She has had a positive impact in my life and my congregation, who is predominantly a Hispanic and Latino congregation. Thank you, Holly, for all your support you have shown to our church and to the community of Lincoln. Every time we have had the privilege to sit down with you, you have always taken the time to listen to us. You have always been so respectful to us. We are so grateful for you and your unwavering kindness. Thank you for always being honest and transparent to us. Your leadership is an inspiration to us, and we are so grateful for all your dedication and service. I can assure you that all that you have done, all your hard work will take you far in life. May you continue to lead as a servant leader, serving others with empathy and compassion. May the decisions you make in this role bring peace, justice,
and unity to our city. We wish you the best and continued success in your role as you continue your important work here in the community. May God bless you and your family, and may God bless every single one of you tonight.
On deck is Stacy Hollis.
My name's Dan Catania. I came here a little over 20 years ago. And I've been very much involved in the politics, local. I've never seen a more hardworking, more honest politician than Holly Andriana. She grew up in this community, and the main thing that she's concerned about is keeping it safe and making it beautiful. When I sit there and I hear people say they want to shut down free speech. First thing that comes to mind is they don't have an argument. They don't have the facts, but they don't want to hear it. As far as I'm concerned, Holly is the best thing that has happened to Lincoln. I hope that she continues. I hope that her voice gets stronger. And I hope that she gets even farther ahead to take care of not just our community, but maybe our state. So Holly, hang in there. I appreciate everything you've done, and keep Lincoln safe. Thank you.
On deck is Beth Bourne.
Hi, good evening. My name is Stacy Hollis, and I am here to just talk about the repercussions and consequences of words. And I know that we've talked about debate and disagreement is healthy, and I believe it is. But sometimes the weight of those words have serious consequences. I'm a mother and parent in this community. I've lived here since I think attend Twelve Bridges. My daughter attends the high school that used to. And my son is at 12 Bridges Middle School. They are half Black, half Palestinian, and my daughter is also gay. So she has dealt with many, and so has my son, dealt with discrimination in this community. They have been called cotton pickers, slaves, niggers, terrorists, from other children at that school, 12 Bridges. This is not uncommon. There are other children that have experienced the same discrimination, the same racism, and it does exist. It's here. So when you speak about DEI, about Martin Luther King, you may call it healthy debate, but what you don't know is when you leave, the consequences that children who you were speaking to, these are children, these aren't adults, which I agree, everybody has a right to their own opinion and their own beliefs, but you have to really think about the responsibility of your words and your actions and who they're affecting, and how those words carry on when you're gone. So I just want to say that it was disappointing to see, and even if you're repeating the words of Charlie Kirk, who was an opinionated debater and a Christian nationalist, that is what you are, a Christian nationalist. I want you to really think about what would Christ say or think in this situation, in this room. And what do you really think about people that don't look like you? Look to the board, look at the people next to you. Do they look like you? Are they diverse? You talk about diversity and inclusion and love and acceptance in this community. And I'm here to say that my children have been on the other side of that. So you can talk about what you believe and your opinions, and it all sounds great, but the reality is those disagreements, those words have consequences. They've started riots. People have been killed. People have been lynched. This history, the history of this country has all been started on disagreements. You don't look like me. You're not like me, bigotry. So just think about the responsibility and the weight of your words. Yeah. Next.
Hi, good evening. My name is Beth Warren, and I'm here tonight to voice my support for Holly Andreatta. No one will argue that she has not been a community member who has shown dedication and integrity for over 30 years, both as an educator and as elected official and a volunteer. We are living in unprecedented times when political differences are tearing families apart. Children, adult children and teens are estranging themselves from parents, not because of abuse, but because of differences in views on faith, family, and a society that once allowed for a healthy debate now has led to outright division and estrangement. So I've watched the videos from the Twin Bridges High School meeting. I've read Holly's statement. You can see that her comments were grossly misrepresented. She didn't attack anyone. She encouraged students to think critically and look for truth, to be open to diverse viewpoints and open dialogue, and to have the courage to stand by your convictions. She also stressed that differences in beliefs and opinions do not equate to hatred. I'm in this overflow room, and if you go back in that room, you'll see that there's several Antifa, Trans-Tifa-like men in full masks. You could go onto their social media today. It's called NorCal Resist. And this is the kind of the image that you see on the profile picture. It shows to abolish ICE, and it shows someone being attacked with a slingshot. So as I'm sitting in that room, these men.
Most if we could ask everyone to be quiet to let her make her comments.
Yeah, so these men, they've got these masks on. I've been personally attacked at a Turning Point USA event. I've had my tire slashed. I get death threats. These men are standing and they're trying to intimidate women or anybody who wants to speak out because they believe in our country. They believe in democracy. They love our country. They love our family. They love faith. They love freedom to have free speech. And what they're trying to do is silence anybody from speaking. And I know this room would have 3 times more people if people weren't scared because of what we have on this. And I don't know what you want to call it. It's a far left kind of movement that says that you cannot have religion. You can't be Jewish. You can't be Muslim. You can't be a Christian. You can't talk about the fact that you love your family or you love your faith. All of these ideas are being threatened, right? And instead, we're teaching our children to hate themselves, to hate their parents, to hate their school, to hate their government. And I just want to ask everyone here, look who is the violent one. Look who is threatening us, and look who is scaring us.
Yeah, right. Minnesota.
All right, folks, I will remind you to please remain quiet while people are making their comments. We don't want any outbursts, no clapping. Thank you.
On deck, we have Adrian Jatan.
Sorry. You sound insane.
I'm here tonight because something inappropriate happened in our community. This is not about politics, it's about responsibilities. Holly Andreatta addressed students in a public high school, not as a private citizen, but as an elected official on this very council. This fact was repeatedly made clear in her speech. During that presentation, students were given demonstrably false information presented as fact under the authority of her public position. The list is long, but here are a few. Students were told that the airline industry implemented an immediate staffing mandate requiring 50% Black pilots, forcing airlines to lower standards, putting the public at risk. This is not true, no matter how many times Charlie Kirk said it. She was referencing a long-term diversity goal of 1 voluntary aviation training program applicable to their student pipeline. There was never a staffing mandate. She told children that the separation of church and state is a myth, a claim directly contradicted by decades of Supreme Court precedent. She told children they would go to hell if they didn't devote their lives to the Lord. She lied about her own daughter to validate her narrative. She clearly linked childhood trauma to sexual orientation, then later denied saying it. She said it and we all heard it. Whether it was out of pure ignorance or intentional distortion, it's outrageous and irresponsible to present these as undeniable facts to children. When students recorded what she said, she repeatedly blamed them for recording her, implying she had an expectation of privacy. She did not.
Instead of accountability, we saw blame, self-victimization, denial, backpedaling. Instead of an apology, we got repeated claims of being taken out of context despite full reporting confirming the opposite. She stated that she was merely parroting Charlie Kirk's talking points, not her own beliefs. However, in her lecture, she affirms and defends every single one of them. When a student tried to correct her, she doubled down and said, well, actually, in a lot of industries, they did say that. So a lot of industries do have these metrics. Repeating and defending lies is the same thing as creating them yourself. She did say something I agree with, and I quote, we have a famine of courage. I'm not afraid to shine a light on injustice and say, hey, you're in a position of leadership here in my town. You're doing something wrong, and that's not okay. Courage is contagious. And tonight, that courage is not being asked of students, it's being asked of you. This council has an opportunity to model and uphold the standards expected from those we elect. An opportunity to prove our city demands honesty and accountability of its officials. They can't say or do whatever they want with no consequence. The only appropriate response is a vote to censure Ms. Andreotta. Censure is not about punishment. It's about saying you are in a position of leadership and you did something wrong, and that's not okay. Doing the right thing is rarely comfortable, but I urge this council to be courageous and do the right thing anyway. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if you think you will stand alone. As she said, when a brave man or woman takes a stand, the spines of others are stiffened. Please don't be afraid to be the ones who stand.
Kennedy Cruz is on deck.
Yeah.
Good evening, members of the Lincoln City Council. I am here today to comment on the actions of the mayor of Lincoln, which have put the city on national headlines. I wish this was for good reasons, but unfortunately that could be farther from reality. The mayor of Lincoln was caught red-handed a month ago spreading misinformation about gay people to minors at Twelve Bridges High School. Growing up in the city of Lincoln, me and other queer youths have never felt safe in the city. We were constantly victims to homophobic rhetoric, which often escalated to threats of violence, and violence even happening like that happened in Lincoln High School. It was such a common occurrence that many of us from day one had plans of moving out of the city because of the hell we have to endure here. Instead of the mayor of Lincoln trying to heal this unnecessary rift in the city, she has chosen to amplify it. She decided to tell minors at the 12 Bridges High School about how being assaulted makes you gay, further nullifying our existence. The actions of the mayor's behavior are what fuels anti-LGBTQ rhetoric in the city, making queer youth feel so unsafe. You have free speech, but that speech does not absolve you from the consequences of that speech. The biggest victims in the situation are not the mayor, but the queer youth now who will be in even more danger. No one here is trying to put a tape over the mayor's mouth. We are rightfully reacting to the absurd comments made to the youth of Lincoln. If you think that is an attempt of censorship, you don't know how the civic process works. Queer youth are the biggest victim in this situation, and that cannot be understated. As the mayor of one of the few growing communities in California, you could have chosen to support the growing youth and working class population. The 65 bottleneck is an example of an issue that the city has been dealing with, yet no solution has been put forth by city council members. You could be working to make more third spaces, ensuring the youth of Lincoln have the ability to commune with each other and foster a sense of community. You could be investing in the city's public transit network so the elderly, adults, and children have a safe means of transportation. But this would be antithetical to your agenda. You are more interested in spreading your hateful political rhetoric than you are in serving your community. And now you intend on taking that rhetoric to the county level. It's clear the mayor of Lincoln no longer serves the interests of the community, but instead serves the interests of the far right and mega churches like Destiny. God knows how far she's willing to go to achieve her goal. This is an ongoing issue in Placer County where far-right nut jobs control our city governments, making them dysfunctional, and they will refuse to serve the common people. Fuck you, elitist Nazi, we will prevail over you.
On deck is Jake Palusa.
Good evening, neighbors. My name is Kennedy Cruz. I've been a registered voter for about 5 years, and I'm a citizen of Lincoln. I live just down the street from 12 Bridges High School. I believe, as do many others, that Holly Andreotta should be removed from any position on the Lincoln City Council or maintain a slight semblance of honor and resign from office. Putting aside my own personal political beliefs, I'd like to highlight the blatant unprofessionalism Ms. Andreotta has exemplified. I hope I'm not the only one here who believes that a public servant going to a local school to groom children into believing rhetoric that the Ku Klux Klan has spread is unacceptable. For folks wondering what the difference between Club America and other clubs based on student identities, I'll tell you. I was in a GSA club for middle school and high school. If you don't know what GSA is, that's Gay Straight Alliance. And I would say that most, if not all, club goers are queer or questioning teens. Never once in my life have I ever heard any of my peers say or imply that being straight or cisgender was unnatural or something that people should be ashamed of. That's the difference between us and you. So Mrs. Andreotta, an adult speaking to children, has been the first to take the low ground by bashing kids who might be questioning who they are and how they fit into this world, which is a natural phenomenon for youth. She took that time to exploit her own daughter, publicly airing out trauma. If Miss Andreotta is so enthused and willing to publicly embarrass and disrespect her own family, imagine how detrimental she is to her constituents' lives. The people of Lincoln want leaders with benevolence and decorum, and Mrs. Andreotta, you have none.
So Jake, you have a total of 3 minutes. You gave us 2 comment cards.
Yeah.
You have a total of 3 minutes to speak on whatever you wish to speak on.
Okay, gotcha. Good evening, everybody. Sorry, I don't have anything fun to talk about. It's actually not about Holly, so sorry. But I wanted to leave the public with something important to kind of think about. If you're not familiar with flock safety cameras, they're automated license plate reader cameras that are all over Lincoln, Roseville, Rockland, Placer counties. And basically, they scan every car that drives past them. That means if you've committed a crime, if you've not committed a crime, your information is being logged by the police departments in a global or a cloud-based software system. So you can literally like search anybody's license plate and get a hit and see an actual recording of where you've driven. And so this is kind of what I've come here to talk about is kind of there's the lack of oversight from the public and the lack of understanding, because this is our public taxpayer dollars that are funding a program to actively surveil every single citizen, regardless if you live anywhere in California. Lincoln Police Department shares this information with every single police department in California. They do have, luckily, California does have a, some backbone, so we can't share with outside law enforcement agencies, but they can share up and down California. So if you're driving in Reading and they flag your license plate, if you drive in Lincoln, they'll get a notification that you drove there. So I'm here to talk about basically how these systems are used to surveil everybody and basically control and monitor where you're going. And I encourage the city council, along with anybody that is watching this currently, to fill out a public request act or a public request to the Lincoln Police Department and see how many times your license plate has been hit and where they have you driving. There's about 23 cameras, from my understanding, that's operated by the city of Lincoln, and about 40 in Placer County by the Placer County Sheriff's Department. And they cost the Placer County Sheriff Department about $320,000 a year in subscription fees to run 40 cameras. I can tell you you can do that a lot cheaper if you wanted to do it, by yourself. And basically, make sure you're looking at flock safety cameras. Their goal is to eliminate all crime. And their next thing that they're going to be launching is drones, which I know I sound crazy talking about drones and cameras, but it's the truth. Everything you do is being monitored by your government and by your police departments. And I'm not sure where my time's at, but
You have 26 seconds.
thank you. I do also have a report available for the city council to take a look at. It's kind of detailed, and there are locations of these cameras. And the location is actually, the location of the cameras are actually prohibited by the police departments. But I recommend that we create a committee to make that information public. That's it. And Holly, maybe choose your words wisely next time.
Aubrey Perez. And on deck is Maria Rosardo.
Is there an Aubrey Perez in the audience? Give me just a moment, please.
Let's move on to the next. Okay, so Maria Rizzardo, you're up. On deck, we have William Preston.
Hi, everyone. Regarding the consideration of Miss Andreatta's actions, I would like to ask you all a simple question. Are you okay with this kind of representation at Lincoln? Are you okay with the unprofessional and disrespectful debate being advertised as exemplary behavior that the people of Lincoln should look up to? I'm a firm believer that we as a town can partake in a democratically constitutional government. But that all starts with our ability to call out our own for unprofessional behavior. My friends from other cities and states now visualize Miss Andreatta and her actions as an accurate depiction of Lincoln. Keep that in mind. The behavior that says we encourage childish debate where you raise your voice at impressionable teens and talk over them repeatedly, refusing to provide resources to back your claims. Please consider censuring Miss Andreatta for her actions and poor judgment. Thank you.
Is there William Preston?
Right. James Jenkins, you're on deck.
Good evening, Mayor Pearl and members of the City Council. We appreciate having the opportunity to come forward tonight and support Councilwoman Andreatta for her leadership in the city. The fact is that a lot of elected officials, wherever they are, not only in this city, but county leaders, state leaders, even federal leaders will go and speak to members of different groups, various groups all the time. They speak to people with differing viewpoints and common viewpoints. Sometimes they speak in a room where you have members of multiple viewpoints in the same exact room. But the fact is that it's a time-honored tradition. It's because that's what we do in America. We go and we speak and we listen. We listen to people with differing viewpoints. I've heard a lot of differing viewpoints tonight. There's a lot of them I don't agree with. There's a lot of them I would call simply lies. But the fact is I haven't threatened anybody, and I support all of their right to say that in this public forum. And that's what we're all about. I know I've spoken to a lot of student groups. I've spoken to other groups as a past local elected official, as a staff member, in a lot of different viewpoints. I've thrown gotcha questions to elected leaders, U.S. senators, members of the state legislature. I've done that because that's political gamesmanship. And I think that that's what we have here. We're seeing a lot of political outrage based upon an upcoming election, when in fact, we have a fantastic member of the city council that is a true fighter for our behalf. She is a rare breed in our area where we have an elected leader that can stand up, having 4 people on the dais against her, and can change the opinion of those other 4 in order to stand up for our local traditions, local community events. And the fact is when we absolutely need a leader to step up, not remain silent in the background, but something like what is happening with this homeless shelter that's being landed in the city without any of our approval or previous knowledge. She has stepped up and she's willing to take on that fight. That's the type of person we need. We don't need to censure that person. We need to support that person. And so I'm here to support her. Thank you.
Rayanne Barrett is on deck.
Good evening. Great to be here. Name is James Jenkins. I'm a foreigner. I'm from Roseville, but I'm a big fan of Placer County. I moved my family here on purpose because of Placer County, the way it is. It's a great place to live, and I just want to encourage this body to do nothing and do not listen to the naysayers when it comes to the things that are being said about Holly Andreatta. She's not racist. It seems like these things get thrown, the word race card gets thrown around a lot. There are some, earlier was mentioned about some things about Martin Luther King. And if you look up Chad O. Jackson and Vincent Ellison Everett, they're doing some new research on Dr. Martin Luther King, and just exposing he was a human being. He did a lot of things that were wrong too. So, and these are black men I'm talking about. So just because you disagree with Martin Luther King doesn't mean you're a racist. If you disagree with him because he's black, that is racist. So, as far as the politic goes, as far as Dr. Martin Luther King, if they do call him a socialist, well, if you're a Democrat, what's wrong with that? We have open socialists running in the Democrat Party. So I don't see the problem with it. But anyway, they have free speech. We should be able to listen to different ideas. We don't have to agree with them. I'm from Detroit originally. And like I said, this is a great place to be. I'm sorry that some of the bullying goes on in schools. It was the same way when I was at school. But as far as because I don't get feeling unsafe has a whole different meaning to me. It means somebody taking my bike when I was on it, somebody stealing my car from in front of my house. So we have great Roseville. This county is awesome. A couple more things that I'll wrap up. Disagreement does not equal hate. Okay, we can disagree with each other. I can say I don't like the way you do this. It doesn't mean I hate you. So that's was I think one of the things that's dividing us so much. So we can agree to disagree. And I think we can coexist with each other. So, one last thing, I want to say DEI is in direct opposition to Martin Luther King's philosophy, which was we should judge people by the content of the character, not the color of their skin. DEI does judge you by the color of your skin. Thank you very much.
On deck, we have Rebecca Warner.
Oh, my name's Rayanne Barrett. I am just recently moved to Lincoln, California, and I had the opportunity to meet Holly over at Sun City, where she spoke to us about the community of Lincoln, which I didn't know, and I was very grateful to listen to what she had to say. The lady is very knowledgeable, and she has an extremely strong passion for her community, this community of Lincoln. She spoke with knowledge about the fire department, the police department, how the city has grown. She is an admirable warrior for the town of Lincoln. And to think that she would be disparaged, her character would be disparaged the way it has been today, just because she agreed to speak in front of students at a club is irreprehensible to me. I support you very much, Holly, and God bless you. And I hope that you remain within this community and you are successful in your endeavors. Thank you.
On deck is Will Smith.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca Warner, and I am a senior at Pearl Bridges High School. I'm a proud citizen of Lincoln, as well as a proud gay woman. First of all, I would like to clarify that Holly Andretta entered Pearl Bridges High School under the title of Lincoln's mayor. The week leading up to Club America's meeting, the announcements read, "Attention Rhinos, this is a new club on campus. Are you a fan of Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA? The Club America is the high school version, and the first meeting will be held at lunch Thursday, December 11th in room E104. There will be a guest speaker, Lincoln Mayor Holly Andretta. In this meeting that Ms. Andretta entered under the title of mayor, she linked personal trauma to sexual orientation, a scientifically discredited and harmful narrative hurting many communities as well as my own. After Ms. Andretta's remarks, a classmate and I created a petition with an open-ended question at the end of it. In their answers, students expressed deep hurt from Ms. Andretta's comments. Her comments created campus-wide discord, with many students claiming to feel unsafe at school, an environment which is supposed to be a safe space for the future of our city to learn. She did this despite the fact that the Code of Ethics requires that officials foster an inclusive environment and demonstrate respect towards all individuals. For that, I ask that you censure Ms. Andretta. By censuring her, you are not choosing a side, Democrat or Republican. You are choosing to protect students and citizens of all backgrounds. Thank you.
On deck is Olga Rodriguez.
Hi, my name is Will Smith. I'm a freshman at Pearl Bridges High School, and I believe that council member Holly Andretta should be censured due to the comments made at the first Club America meeting. These comments violate the standards of the City of Lincoln Code of Ethics and Conduct for elected and appointed officials under Section B3B. This section discusses conduct of the public in unofficial settings, such as the Club America meeting. It states when referring to council members that, quote, "Their behavior at all times should reflect honesty, integrity, and respect," end quote. Her disrespectful comments made at the meeting blatantly violate this code. There are many examples of this, but one of them included when she was asked about Charlie Kirk's view on people of color in the workforce, more specifically DEI policies with pilots. She said, quote, "What do you do when you have to broaden the percentage? You lower the standard. If you lower the standards, ... you put people in danger," end quote. She's disrespecting a whole community of people by making this statement and is also inferring that by allowing people of color into these spaces, it will hurt others. These people of color should already be in these spaces. It is because of racism and internalized racism that they are not in these spaces. She clearly failed to uphold the dignity of her office, and I believe that she should therefore be censured. One final thing I would like to say is I love myself, I love my family, they support me, and by speaking out, they do not hate me any less or like me any little less for this. Thank you so much for your time.
On deck is Ruth.
Hello, City Council. My name is Olga. I've lived in Placer County for 20 years. I'm a resident of Lincoln. I'm here because trust and leadership is not a partisan issue. I know that you know that. This is about standards, accountability, and the safety of our city. I'm concerned about the actions of Holly Andretta, to be honest, a lot of people in here are, who is currently serving on the council and is now running for county supervisor. When someone speaks on behalf of our city, especially in front of our children, not adults, children, their words carry weight and authority, and I believe that Holly understood that. What concerns me the most is not only what was said, but what was revealed to us. We now have the clarity about where she stands on civil rights, inclusion, and the separation of church and state. We now understand how she views her power and how she intends to use her platform. We also now understand her judgment and boundaries and when she chose to violate her own daughter's trust in a public forum to advance her own beliefs. This clarity is very uncomfortable, but I want to make it clear that it was so necessary. We, the residents of Lincoln and Placer County, we needed to know. Now that we know, the responsibility will shift to you, City Council. This council has previously asked a member to resign for their conduct. The same standard should apply now. I'm asking this council to acknowledge a few things, acknowledge the harm, uphold consistent standards, and take appropriate action moving forward, because clarity requires action. Our community is paying attention. We are aware and we're watching. Lincoln and Placer County deserves leadership that unites our families, that protects our children, and that reflects the full diversity of our community. City Council exists here to serve the whole community and to protect public trust. I am asking you to do that tonight.
On deck, we have Alejandro. Is Bruce here?
Alejandro, would you come to the podium, please?
Bruce or Alejandro? Gary, go ahead.
Joanna? No.
We're started, please go ahead. Perfect, hi, thank you. Hi, my name is Joanna Loya. I've been a resident since 1998 in the city of Lincoln. Everyone likes to talk about how the city was such a great Lincoln when it was the All-American City in 2007. I was actually nominated by the city council, and I was the All-American student in 2008. Probably at one point would have believed some of the same beliefs that Holly has. And I don't know why I came here today, but I just needed to speak my truth and how Holly has personally had my family attacked because of the Gathering Inn. And this is my own personal story. My father works for the Gathering Inn. His name is David Boya. She started her own personal attack on the Gathering Inn. The assistant city council member here even called me hostile towards women one time at one of the meetings because of my own personal beliefs. And the thing is my family has been doxxed because of her when she started this crusade against the Gathering Inn. People started posting pictures of my father because he works for the Gathering Inn and because of his views. And it's actually very funny. It's because my dad actually supported Holly. At one point, we had a family argument because I support Pastor Casey in this community and I support the landing spot. And her and Matthew Oliver ostracized him out of this community. And that should have been the biggest red flag right there, that she should not be on the city council and what she did is wrong. And what she keeps doing, she proves over and over again that she is not a good person for the city council and that her own personal beliefs will always take precedent over anything else. It's very sad what she has done to this town and she continues to do to this town. She invited Matthew Oliver in here during COVID and they stirred everything up with their anti-vaccine things. You know, my mom now had long-term COVID. There's so many things that have happened in this town because of her, and they're more negative than positive. And I think that's something that we really need to look at as a city and how we want to move forward in this town. I've had people sitting in cars outside of my house because my last name is the same as my dad's when the first thing happened with the Gathering Inn. They were shouting profanities and cursing at us. It's been horrible because of what she's done. And the thing is it's not a homeless shelter. Educate yourself. It's a hospice center that is needed for our citizens. There's actually citizens that need that here. There's people that went to school here that need this stuff. Your own personal vendettas completely always come up again and again, and it's sad. And I was very angry when I saw the video. You know, I think everyone should have felt angry with those things because Martin Luther King is a hero to this country. To say anything other is foul, like just wrong. To tarnish what he did. The only reason women still have education is because of the Civil Rights Act. The only reason so many things in this nation happen because of the Civil Rights Act and because of his I Have a Dream speech, because of men like him, because of women and many different people. Just state your name. My name is Jerusha Loya, Loya. Yes. I'm just here to speak of the treatments that Holly, her rhetoric has brings into this community. As we saw in that video, she can deny all her words all she wants, but we have seen her rhetoric in action. My family personally has seen her behavior and how that has affected her lives. With her rhetoric against TGI, we have had people come to our home and verbally assaulted my mother, who served at the City of Lincoln's children's librarian for over 10 years. And if that doesn't show you what her words can bring to this community, look at that video that posted to high schoolers that are still developing their opinion. She may say and think all that stuff, but she said it. Her words have impact. And as a leader, it is disgusting and it is vile the way she spoke. She does not represent everybody. And if she has those opinions, she needs to keep them to herself and not preach them at her title. Is there anybody in here that did not fill out a comment card that would like to speak? Come on up. Just state your name. Okay. Hi, my name is Elliot Armstrong. I wasn't planning to speak today, but I believe you have a voice and you have a reason. It's very important. So I currently serve as sophomore class president at Twelve Bridges High School, And I think that if you are put in a leadership role, no matter who you agree or disagree with, you need to not spread hate. And I
understand people who are talking about the First Amendment to the Constitution, where everyone has a right to free speech. However, there's a huge difference between free speech and hate speech. And ultimately, a high school classroom is not the place to be spreading hateful rhetoric. And I also would like to acknowledge the fact that there is a difference between censorship and censorship, where we are not necessarily saying that Holly cannot have her own opinion, because Holly's a person and she's clearly allowed to have her own opinion. However, if she is elected an official to represent a whole community, she should not be saying things that are going against or hurting and harming certain people in her community. And I believe that overall, America is a place where love has always been spread. And I think that if you are in a public position, you should not use that position to go and spread hate, especially in a public high school. Thank you.
Do you have any other people? Mayor Pearl, that's all we have.
Thank you, Hope. We move now to Zoom.
Yes, thank you. If we could get a quick tally of who would like to provide public comment on Zoom, could you please raise your hand at this time? So we have 55 participants total, 3 hands raised. Okay, we have only 3 hands raised, so I'll go ahead and call on profile name Sue and Jerry Bursch. You are unmuted. Please make your public comment. Okay, no answer there. We'll go down to Lena Lebowski. Lena, you are unmuted and can provide public comment. Thank you.
Lena Lebowski is here. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Holly Andreatta spoke at a private club which has an emphasis on Christianity and politics. Holly was representing herself as a teacher, a Christian, a pastor, not representing City Council. Holly encouraged the teens to think for themselves using biblical principles and to have courage to fear God, not man, and to live a life worthy of God. Actually, most of the time she spoke had to do with Christianity, not politics. We need to emphasize community, family, faith, and when our children are still young, to help them choose a path of spiritual growth and acceptance of a reality far greater than a 6-inch cell phone. We are becoming less human to one another because of the hyper-digitalization of our country. I support Holly 100%. Please watch the full 28-minute video on YouTube, and you will be quite surprised. It's not about little snippets that were advertised on the Sacramento Bee. It was quite interesting, and you should watch it and learn. And to council members, please do not censor, admonish, or act on Holly speaking at Club America. You have worked well together. Please do not destroy it. She does not deserve any censure on this issue. Thank you.
Okay, next we will go to June Paquette. June, you have been unmuted. Please provide your public comment. No public comment from June. We'll go ahead and try one more time with Sue and Jerry. Please provide your public comment.
Okay, so we finished Hope. Okay, good. So I'm going to close the public comment. Councilmember Andreatta asked originally if she could make an opening statement, and I erred. It went by me. I apologize for that, Holly. So please continue.
So thank you all for coming. I appreciate both sides and that you came and exercised your right of free speech and the democratic process. I really appreciate that. So I'm not going to really belabor the point. I did release an official statement after this all happened. And so those of you who may not have read that, please read that. But I do want to say that I have been a person that has always strived to be a bridge builder, to bring people together, not apart. And for the part that I needed to take responsibility for, I have, and I will again. And I know that some of the things I said caused hurt in some people. I've already apologized for that. I'll apologize again. It's never my intent to cause hurt or pain in anyone, because all I have is love in my heart for everyone. The rest of it, as some of you have already said, my character has been grossly twisted and mischaracterized, and that saddens me as well. But I recognize that on some of this, some of my comments in the club, whatever my intent was may not have been communicated. And so I take responsibility for that. But many of the things that have been said actually didn't happen, aren't true. One thing I do want to clarify, I'm not going to get into all the things, but there were a couple comments that I was there campaigning. And I would just like to say very clearly that that's false. That never happened. We're not allowed to campaign. I wasn't there for that. Had nothing to do with a campaign. And so that's actually a very serious accusation. And so I want to be very clear about that. That had nothing to do with it. But for the rest of it, I have loved this community with my whole being, and I will continue to do that. I can't take back what's transpired, but I will continue to be committed to building bridges, to serve those in need, to seek to understand differing viewpoints, and to learn and grow as we all should. And so I do appreciate everyone who came, and for council sitting through this, and for staff facilitating all this. And hopefully we can get back to regular city business. I do also want to say that because there were a lot of comments about whether I was there in my official capacity or not. Yes, it's true that the school advisor and the students created a slide that said mayor, and they introduced me as that, because sometimes students, they see my position, but the president of the club at the time actually invited me because I'm also a pastor. And I don't think that's been communicated well enough, and I want to clarify that. So when I began the presentation, I did say, I'm not the mayor anymore. I'm also, I'm a pastor. They've invited me for that reason, and other hats I wear. And I thought I made it clear, but apparently it wasn't clear enough. And some people came away with the misconception that I was there in official capacity, and I wasn't. But, that happened. And so I apologize for that. So because there was such a misunderstanding for that, I would, if the council chooses, I would be supportive of, we have a code of conduct that the council passed several years ago. If we wanted to create a policy that says, if we're ever invited, any of us, because, I've been invited to multiple different organizations and groups and clubs and churches and different things to speak over the years. Sometimes it is on city business and sometimes it's not. So if we wanted to create a policy to add to our code of conduct that says, wherever we are, we need to make clear that we're there either on our own personal time or we're there for the city, I would be supportive of that, because there was a lot of misunderstanding, and so we can get that straight so it doesn't happen again. But I just want to reiterate that I love this town. I love every person in this town, and I will continue to serve with integrity and dedication. So thank you.
I think we're going to pass on, everyone had their opportunity to do it. We're not going to get into a debate here. Thank you very much. Yeah, City Clerk asked several times. We're going to be moving on. Thank you. I want to say a few words here. This situation has been almost all-consuming to this community, to the council certainly, to the city staff. It's absorbed a lot of the oxygen, taking away from the things that we want to do. I do want to acknowledge the concerns, the deep concerns that the members of our community came out tonight talking about this subject on both sides of the question. Obviously, it's not been an easy night for anyone, and certainly for Councilmember Holly Andreotta. I've known her for many years. I know her as an honorable person and as a good person. This has been very, very difficult for her and for her entire family. That was, I'm sure, that was never any intention of that happen. I think we all can commiserate with what your family has gone through. I've stated publicly that the words at that Holly spoke at the 12 Bridges did not represent the official position of the city. I also stated publicly that I don't agree with what she said, but that's my personal opinion. But I absolutely will defend her right to say what she wants to say under the First Amendment. We all have that. Holly and I have deep respect for each other. I'm confident that even though when we disagree, we actually agree way more than we disagree. I have endorsed her for her run for the Board of Supervisors. We respect each other, but both of us, I'm sure, agree that when we talk to folks, we do have the protection of the First Amendment. Now, we can't unscramble the eggs, without a doubt, but hopefully we've gone now through 2 hours. Hopefully we listen to each other. Hopefully we can all grow more than not. Listening to each other, hopefully to start to understand each other, where we're coming from. There are really two issues here that I see. The first is our right to free speech, and I covered that. The second is how we as elected officials comport ourselves in public, because we can really never disassociate ourselves from our elected positions when we speak in public. Not in private, but in public. As Holly just pointed out, we need a policy on this. We don't have a policy on how we should do this. I think it's kind of intuitive, but we should have that. It's a guardrail that we should have, and yes, we will. We're gonna put that in without a doubt. I think that's it's relatively straightforward to come up with that. The harder part is how we bridge the chasm before us, and how we hopefully can come together again to move this city forward. I came here in 2008. As I say, this is my final home here. It's a fabulous community. We continue to grow. We've got fabulous people. We have wonderful staff. We all make mistakes, and we learn from our mistakes, and the best thing we can do is admit it, as Holly said, and move forward. We've had, I think as everyone knows, some significant and not really complimentary press over this issue in the past few months. And certainly I don't want us to get into any portion of free speech and First Amendment issues. But I personally believe that to me, words and actions, they have consequences. Perhaps I'm old school. But words and actions have meaning and they have consequences. And she's admitted where she's wrong, and this is thank you for doing that, Holly. And I certainly accept that. I'm conflicted at this point of kind of moving forward. On one side of it, I did hear a threat, almost like a litigation. And so I think we're going to have to move this to closed session to see how we want to move forward on that. That's the only way that we can bring an action like this and discuss it between us because of the threat. Am I correct in that?
Correct. That is one of the authorized permissive to go around the Brown Act public noticing is that if you have anticipated litigation or threatened litigation.
Okay. Yeah, I want to emphasize that all of us are trying to do the right thing here, no matter what side of the position you're on. We're trying to find common ground. We're trying to find out how we can be better people, for this. Personally, and I'll state this right now, there's been a lot of calls for censoring. I would not support a censure motion. I don't think what happened makes it rise to that level. I'm not sure if there's a statement of accountability. I'm not exactly sure. I can assure you, and I believe I speak for our council, that we have lost a lot of sleep on this. We're trying to find our way of how we can work through this and hopefully come back together and move forward for it. There are so many opportunities that this city has. There are a lot of challenges that we have in front of us, but we have way more opportunities than challenges, and I know we're going to do it. But sometimes things happen. Things happened a couple of years ago. We learned from that. We will learn from this. We'll move it forward. I'm confident of that. So I think unless some of my council colleagues want to chime in at this point, we'll hold it and move it back to private session, to closed session.
Which will have to be noticed for a date in the
Yes.
future.
Yes.
But we did move council initiated business now to after public comment, and it sounds like the code of conduct is you're giving staff direction to make some proposed edits and bring that back.
Yes. And we already have a code of conduct out there, so we're adding to it. I think we're going to end up much better for having that. It's going to provide guidance to us and guardrails.
It was done actually last year, and it was designed to be a living document because things change over time. And so, in fact, I think there was a provision where we were going to revisit it relatively, regularly. So that's appropriate anyway.
No, I'm sorry, we're not going to be getting into that at this point. Thank you. Okay, so we're finished with that item then? Okay, next up is the consent calendar. Do we have any of the council or staff want to pull anything off the consent calendar?
I just had a quick question. Just to be clear, the item that we were gonna have put for us to talk about was the code of conduct and what changes we were gonna be making to that document, correct? It didn't have anything to do with Holly specifically.
Correct. The code of conduct will come back as an action item as part of a resolution
Just wanted to
as a
clarify
public
that.
process.
Okay, so no one's pulled anything off the comment? Okay. In that case, I'll accept a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good.
Oh.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
What?
We didn't ask the public if they wanted clarification on.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Mr. Chapman.
I can't pull, but we can clarify a question.
There a question, Byron?
Code of conduct. Oh.
11B? Does anyone have any comments or questions on 11 Bravo?
Well,
Good. Yep.
We're not on 12A yet. So there has been a motion to approve the consent calendar. We do have a member of the public that belatedly asked for
I'll-
clarification on 11B as in boy.
I'll withdraw so he can ask the question.
Okay. Mr. Chapman, what is your question on 11B?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. My question was, in going through the packet, it seemed like it almost covered everything when it comes to the committees and the assignments. However, there was one missing, and that was the one I wanted to ask about. There was indeed a accessibility advisory committee for the disabled. And that was, the city had it all the way up until 2019. There was a committee, I have copies of those agendas, which shows that they were in the process. And there is nothing, and yet if you go on to the city's website under the transition for 2018, you will find it there. And so it gives the illusion that it actually is a committee there, when in fact that committee was disbanded. And it was disbanded because at that time, the 3 committee members were frustrated with the city advisor, and the city advisor would not take their comments to the city. And they were not allowed to talk to the council. And therefore they got frustrated and it went away. And my comment to that is, had you had that committee in place, I would hope I wouldn't have even had to bring up the instance where I had to talk about on non-agendized items. So there seems to be a major canyon shift in the fact that what is there in all the committees that were supposed to be out there and available, if it's on the books and nobody knows it, you don't have a committee. And right now it doesn't exist, and it should. Under the ADA, it is a requirement.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Sean?
Just for clarification's sake, the committees that are the subject of this resolution are the regional committees that the council members sit on, not the public committees like Airport Committee, Planning Commission, those types of things, which we're holding a workshop on the structure of those next week, and those assignments and discussion will be coming later.
And they indeed, I have also a copy of what you have in the packet. And yes, there is the airport committee, and there are all the other committees and the individuals that are on those committees. And again, that is not accessibility. It's not there. I can have you look at it, and all you got to do is look at your
Thank you, Byron.
monitors.
Byron, we'll take a look at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, back to the committee for voting on the consent calendar.
I'll move again.
Thank you.
I second again.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Public hearings, 12A. waive a full reading and introduce by an ordinance by title only regulating electric mobility devices and further finding the ordinance is exempt from environmental review under the California Environmental Quality Act. Ms. Molikoff.
Thank you. Yes, I'll take this opportunity to introduce my Deputy City Attorney, Christy McKenney, who's going to present this item. Just by way of brief background, I think we're all very aware of the rise in use of e-bikes and e-scooters. And so this item actually originally came to us from Officer Brett Schneider, who is our traffic officer, due to a significant increase in young people riding their bikes on sidewalks, causing potential accidents, not obeying the rules of the road, and not utilizing the bike trails and paths as we believe would be safer for the public health, welfare, and benefit of our community. So with that, Christy is going to present a staff report, and Officer Schneider is here to ask and answer any questions and explain any rationale supporting this ordinance.
So Christine mostly said the things that I was about to say. I'm going to let Brett take most of the talking about the ordinance and why we want to have it. But I did just want to make one minor correction, just in the interest of making sure everything is accurate. It was brought to my attention that in the staff report, the description of the electric scooters are defined, or where it's defined as the vehicle, California Vehicle Code 312.5, but it's actually found in 407.5, just in case you guys want to get to that level of detail. So that is the correction, and I will pass it over to Officer Schneider.
Good evening. Evening, Mayor, evening, Council. So the ordinance that's brought before you tonight is because of a clear and growing safety issue involving electric bicycles and electric scooters operating on the sidewalks, on walking paths, and other pedestrian paths within the city. Since August of 2024, the Lincoln Police Department has seen a notable increase in complaints involving near misses, collisions, and unsafe riding behavior in areas that were designed primarily for people walking and not for high-speed electric devices. This item is not about banning e-bikes or discouraging mobility. It's about where these devices are safe to operate. From a safety standpoint, crash prevention standpoint, sidewalks and shared walkways create a perfect storm of risk for all types of electric mobility devices. And I use that term to cover everything from an e-bike to an electric one-wheeled device out to a electric bicycle. So pedestrians typically move at 2 to 4 miles per hour. And by contrast, class 1 or class 2 e-bike routinely travels between 15 and 20 miles per hour, and a class 3 e-bike can reach speeds of up to 28 miles an hour. The speed difference alone dramatically increases both the likelihood and severity of the crashes when they do occur. Electric devices are also much quieter than traditional bicycles for the speed that they're moving. Many pedestrians, especially seniors, children, and individuals with hearing or visual impairments, receive little to no warning before a device approaches from behind. National data reflects that our officers, and it also supports what our officers are seeing locally. According to the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission and multiple trauma studies, over 50% of e-bike injury crashes occur within areas with pedestrian interaction, such as sidewalks, shared paths, and crossings. Head injuries account for nearly half of the emergency room visits involving e-bikes and e-scooters. Riders involved in sidewalk-related crashes are significantly more likely to suffer fractures and internal injuries than those riding traditional bicycles and in the lane. So where these crashes tend to happen is sidewalks, shared path crashes rarely happen in the open straight sections. They typically occur at driveways, intersections, and blind corners where visibility is limited. Motorists, when they're operating on the sidewalks, do not expect to see fast-moving vehicles approaching on the sidewalk. Drivers scan for pedestrians moving at walking speed, not vehicles approaching at e-bike or other motor vehicle speeds. This leads to right angle and turning collisions that result in serious injuries. Such example is a crash we took recently involving an e-bike and versus vehicle near Creekside Oaks Elementary School, and this involved an adult rider. So we can't just narrow this down to underage riders, but it's this type of equipment. E-bikes and scooters also weigh substantially more than traditional bicycles. When higher weight is combined with higher speed, the energy transferred in the collision increases exponentially. This is why injuries involving electric devices tend to be more severe. So another concern we constantly see is youth operation. Statewide data shows that helmet noncompliance among minors riding electric devices exceeds 40%. Locally, officers regularly encounter minors operating devices illegally, particularly e-scooters, which require a driver's license under state law. When crashes involve minors without helmets, the outcomes are often far more serious. This ordinance supports existing helmet laws and provides clear expectations for families and riders. When education alone is not enough, we have to look for other options. Some have asked why education alone isn't sufficient. Well, education is critical, but education only works when the rules are clear and consistent when those who receive the education are willing to abide by it. Right now, the Lincoln Municipal Code is silent on sidewalk and path use for certain e-bikes. That creates confusion for riders, parents, and officers alike. Without a clear ordinance, enforcement is inconsistent. Warnings carry little weight and unsafe behavior continues. The ordinance provides clarity so education can actually be effective. So e-bikes are designed to function as bicycles, not pedestrians. Bike lanes and roadways provide predictable traffic flow, defined right-of-way, traffic controls, better sight lines for operators. National transportation studies consistently show that riding in the bike lane reduces conflict points while sidewalk riding increases crash risk at intersections. State law already treats bicycles and e-bikes as vehicles when operating on the roadway. This ordinance simply aligns sidewalk rules with that existing framework. Consistency leads to predictability, and predictability can prevent crashes. So some riders say they feel safer riding on the sidewalk. They may feel safer riding on the sidewalk or on walking paths, but they're demonstrably less safe for pedestrians and often more dangerous at these intersections. Others may say most riders are responsible. We agree, but policy must account for worst-case outcomes, not best-case behavior. The ordinance is not punitive. Fines are capped at $50. The goal is compliance, education, and injury prevention, not revenue generation. Importantly, the ordinance does not affect individuals using mobility devices under the ADA. So closing at its core, the ordinance balances mobility with safety and responds to what we were hearing from our residents. It protects pedestrians, clarifies expectations for riders, and gives officers a clear, consistent tool to address unsafe behavior before serious injury occurs. Sidewalks are for walking. Bike lanes and roadways are for bikes, electric or otherwise. This ordinance is about preventing serious injuries, not simply responding to a crash after one occurs. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Officer. Any questions from the council?
I had a resident reach out to me about this draft and wondering if there was any room or if we wanted to talk about adding anything in regards to property damage from e-bikes. There's been a couple incidences that I've heard, or any repercussions or.
Private property damage, we don't really have control over when it comes to this type of ordinance. That would be something that if it came to the point where the district attorney's office decided to prosecute it, or my office, it was significant enough and we prosecuted it, there could be restitution, but that is just state law. That isn't anything that's necessarily required as part of the ordinance. We also have, as far as public property goes, we have subrogation issues. The biggest problem and issue with these e-bikes is they're not required to be insured. So it's not like a car accident where you can go after a minimum insurance policy in order to recover. So it creates some enforcement challenges.
Okay.
No, I appreciate the work done on this, something that's needed to be addressed for a while. I was just curious, kind of as a side note, how is it going with dealing with this up in Sun City? Because I know that they have a lot of, young people up there riding around and they're very upset about it up there, which rightly so, but just wondering how that's going, how that usually gets handled.
Without taking the ordinance into account,
Yeah.
it's just the operation of bicycles on a roadway. If they're on a sidewalk, this ordinance will allow us to do more about it. As far as the operation on a roadway, it's going to be treated just like any other incident up there. If they're running a stop sign, they're going to get stopped, they're going to get cited. If they're riding erratically in the roadway and presenting a hazard, it would be no different than somebody doing it on a bicycle or an e-bicycle for that matter. And a lot of it is just being at the right place at the right time to identify the hazard and to do something about it.
No, thank you for this. Appreciate it.
It's in addition to just the sidewalks, it's also the bike, the walking paths up in Sun City. We've got a lot of those. So it's the same thing, the sidewalk and the walking trails are the same from your standpoint?
It's
Okay.
identifying both of those within the ordinance.
Okay, perfect.
Mayor, if I could, I don't usually do this, but if I could ask Officer Schneider a question. One of the questions I get a lot is how would you view someone using an e-bike on a walking trail or path, but not using the electric component of it, pedaling, still the same issue, yeah?
Right.
Okay.
Currently, the municipal code doesn't allow for bicycle operation on sidewalks. This just expands it, just because of the speed and the weight.
Yep, okay.
Joan or Ben? Questions?
I was just going to add that in appreciation to moving this forward, I feel like we're really just kind of scratching the surface of what ultimately needs to be done. Appreciate that we're heading in the right direction to be more clear so that more people can be safe.
Mayor Pearl, just a reminder to open it up to public comment, and I do have one card, and then
Okay, all right.
We need to formally gavel the public hearing.
All right. Still learning on the job here. Oh, now open for business. Mr. Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff. I'm actually like to go a little bit more aggressive than what we have, and I'll make my story kind of short. Years and years and years ago, when I was a little boy, bicycles were being stolen. It was like, put your bike down someplace, heck, you even put your lock on it. Next thing you know, it's not there. And it got to be such a problem in 3 different cities that I lived in. Police department got together and they said, well, what we're going to do and make it a little bit easier, we're going to have you register them. And when you register them, a couple of things happen. One, they put the registration on there. 2, they made sure that the bike had all the reflectors and lights and all the stuff that was required. So it was kind of like a safety inspection, just like you'd have with your vehicle. So in doing so, then they had to generate a little bit of money in order to get the ticket or the identifications. Didn't have to do with graving or anything like that. It was like a aluminum type surface. It was very pliable. One side, they were ordered and had identification numbers on them. The sticky side of it was like your license tag that goes on there. Boy, once you put that on there, it's not coming off. And every 2 years, they had to bring the bike in and re-register it to make sure that that wasn't the problem. I figured, well, years later, as I grew up, that seemed to be less and less of a problem. But I was going through the city of Davis a couple months ago, realizing that it's a campus city and hundreds of thousands of bicycles. And I talked to someone there, and they were saying that, we are going to this idea. They already registered their bicycles, but they are having the same kind of issues with the e-bikes and that sort of thing. So instead of being all the way up to the fine of $50, and I don't know about anybody else in the room, but to me, the 50 is the new 20 when it comes to spending power. You can't buy a whole lot what you used to with 20, even with $50. So I'm thinking, one, oftentimes money is the true way in which to get attention. If you're going to work your way up to a $50 final fine, whether it's the 3rd, 4th, 5th, whatever it might be, citation, why not start on a little bit more aggressive side and get the parents' attention? If you're starting out and on the very first offense and you're looking at your first offense is $50, you might be a little bit more anxious to talk to your child about this is how you do it. And again, I have seen in town, in fact, I talked to Chief Ives several months ago about what could be done to it. And he says it has to take its process. So for me, I'm thinking the whole idea of registering them and getting them under control, I think that's a better way to go. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Anyone else in the room? Yes, sir. Whoop.
Although I did hear the city attorney reference the damage to public property, I believe that you need to address what's happening on city property, because there's been damage to ball fields because of these bikes. And so there needs to be some language in this document with consequences for the parents of these kids that damage our public property. As taxpayers, we demand that you take care of our facilities and not allow reckless damage.
Thank you, Stan. Jason?
And just to be clear, when I reference public property, that's city property.
I don't know, is there language in the document?
Please.
All right, so let me preface my comment before I make more friends amongst our local PD. I agree that e-bikes are an issue, but as I've made clear the last couple times, I am aggressively against regulation for the sake of regulation. And at least from what I've read, which I did all of about 12 minutes worth, so, you know, I'm an expert, obviously. Almost everything in the ordinance already exists in state law. And I think what we have more of is an enforcement issue. Now I'll make friends among the PD. I've spoke to an officer a couple months ago on the street. We were just talking, and I brought up kind of jokingly, like, hey, do helmet laws not exist anymore? And their response was, well, they're supposed to. They're a police officer. They're supposed to be the ones enforcing those. If they don't think that they're being enforced, who else thinks they're going to be enforced? And I don't see how this ordinance is going to make it any different, because it's a law already on the books. Same thing with bikes. As far as I know, the state of California considers e-bikes the same as they do bikes. So if we don't allow bikes on sidewalks, then by default, we also wouldn't allow e-bikes on sidewalks already. So it just feels like we're you know, not to throw too much shade at anybody, we're virtue signaling. We got a bunch of complaints about it, so we're saying, hey, here's this ordinance, this is what we're going to do about it. We already have all these laws on the books, and they're not being enforced. So it's regulation for the sake of regulation. All right, now I've made friends. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you. We don't have anyone downstairs. Oh, I'm sorry. Downstairs is closed. Okay.
I agree with what he said and what he said and what he said. But the
right.
thing is, nobody said technically the police, because back in the day when I was growing up, the police took you to your house with your child and said, your child is doing this and this and this. And of course, you turn all red, give your kid that look of, oh, you shouldn't have done that. And now, because, oh my Lord, we can't talk to our child like that anymore because it's abuse. Well, if the police sees a kid riding the bike on the cement, that policeman should stop the kid. Where do you live? We're gonna go talk to your parents. If not, the fine should be more than $50 the first time. You, like the gentleman said, you need the parents' attention. It's like at school when they get caught with the vaping, they get detention. That's it. Why? Because the schools don't want to lose the money for being suspended. So that's why your vaping is so high at the schools, because all they do is get detention. That's it. So by what he said, putting it more in law and law and law, that doesn't mean anything. You need to get the parents' attention because the parents are responsible for those kids. The other day I was at Target, there was like 5 kids. They had e-bikes. They went inside, and what were they doing at Target? Going aisle per aisle per aisle per aisle. Sometimes they would throw something at each other, ha 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 ha, and then go to the next aisle because they had nothing to do. Last meeting, you guys talked about, I had to leave, but my neighbor here talked about the buildings that you guys are going to be doing across from Safeway. What we need, at the time, I thought it was going to be a movie theater because that's what the rumor was many years ago. But we need something for the kids to do. I know there's a skateboard coming up that Holly pushed over there by on 3rd and Joner, but they need something to do when they're on vacation. Because from Target, I went to the grocery store at Sprouts, and I was like, are they following me? Because they were over there doing the same thing. I don't know if they went to go buy something to eat or what. They have nothing to do here, especially at that age. When you can drive, you go to Roseville. But when you can't drive anywhere, what do? You create problems.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
just as a reminder, Darla, we are building a pump track right now over in Foskett. So I saw a video of the progress. It's going to be really great. So that'll be a place for them to go and ride, hopefully too. Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. I totally hear you.
Hello, Mary.
Glad you could make it through the emotional evening. I know it was very hard on you guys. I just wanted to confirm if there will be verbiage about city property being damaged. I wasn't quite clear with your.
The ordinance doesn't require that. We have insurance and we
Okay.
handle that through our insurance.
Okay, we just hate to see the fields torn up and the park, Crescent Park the other day was torn up as well. The stories we could tell you living on, around Coyote Pond and what we see there. And one thing was horrific was 2 little kids on a motorized skateboard the other night going down on the city road, and the parent was driving alongside videoing them. And it was just, it's so tragic to see. You just want to tell the kids or the parents, please, you're putting your kids in danger. And one thing, if I could, I know that sometimes the police present bicycle events at the park, and it would be so nice to have ER nurses out there to be able to say what some of the stories are of the kids that they hear and they see. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, anyone else in the room?
We have,
Anyone on Zoom?
we do have someone on Zoom.
Right.
I'll go ahead and unmute Judy Panaton. Judy, please provide your public comment.
Hello, thank you for listening and for the important work that you all do and the time you give to it. My husband just returned from the pickleball courts and saw several teenagers on their electric bikes zooming through the walking path, which a lot of people use for walking, and they were so quick and gone in no time. And we have seen people on young people on bicycles riding over and causing damage to the golf course here. So I know that question was brought up about Sun City Lincoln Hills. So we have seen that happen. And I also wanted to say, as a former chair of the Accessibility Committee for Sun City Lincoln Hills, I applaud efforts to restore an accessibility committee for the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. So bring it back to the council.
Mayor, if I may, 2 things. One is, it's too bad, I don't think anybody of our friends from the Lincoln Crossing Nature Preserve are here tonight, but this issue, e-bikes in that area has been brought up to me, I don't know, dozens of times. And so I'm sure they would be very supportive of this. And then if I could, Chief Alves wanted to address 1 or 2 details. And so I wondered if we could throw it to him for a moment.
Chief?
Yep, great, thank you. So yeah, just took a couple notes during this item. First thing I'll address is the damage to property. Penal codes already exist. Penal Code 594 vandalism does exist. That's a misdemeanor typically, so we can certainly take criminal response if there is intentional damage to any property, whether it be city or private property. Wanted to respond to Darla's about bringing kids home. Darla, I wish we could do that, but with the child detention laws that we have to follow nowadays, that's just, that can't happen anymore, and I'm sorry we can't. The bigger thing, speaking to Councilmember Brown's comment about we're just scratching the surface, The problem with this topic is, yes, we are scratching the surface, but there is truly only so deep that we can scratch. The state of California really enjoys allowing alternative green transportation, and this would be one of those. So there are finite limits to how much we can legislate or regulate at a city level, and the state, they're working through some legislation to legislate it at a state level, but we're not there yet. But it is just complex just because it deals with transportation. The vehicle code does give us authority and specific authority to develop local ordinances to regulate this for whatever fits, but there are heavy limitations to what we can do. For example, we cannot prohibit them in our city at this point with current legislation. So we're working within some pretty narrow guidelines that the state has written into law. But again, at a state level, it's reached that level. They're working on it. But this is just a good step for us to be able to have some immediate effect on it.
Thank you, Chief. Any other comments?
Question.
John? Oop.
How did we get to $50 and what are thoughts around that and raising it to 100 or, what are, I $5,000 first offense.
Maybe Officer Schneider may want to answer where they landed on the actual fine amount. I look, certainly it's within council's purview if you feel like that's too cheap to raise that. I guess what I would say from a penalty perspective is that, and actually Christine can speak to this because she works in code enforcement a lot. Usually you start with something that's enough just to be an irritant, because it's time too, right? It's returning the citation and paying for it. And then subsequent violations that can become more pricey. And so but I think it's a reasonable discussion about what's the right amount to start at so that it really grabs the attention of the adult, and address that. But maybe Brett, you want to speak to that?
Where do we start with a number that isn't too much or too little? Because again, this isn't about revenue generation for the city. This is about how do we make this functional and how do we get, I don't say compliance, but people to obey the rules and regulations that are set forth and not just make it about paying. When you look at vehicle code violations, the base fine for many of those are anywhere from $15 to $75 for a base fine for a vehicle code violation. You run a stop sign, base fine somewhere around $35. They then tack on additional fees, court imposed fees, state mandated fees, things like that. So for us to start in the $50 window for this is not kind of an uncommon place to start, especially when we do a sampling of other cities. So.
Good?
I was gonna say something.
Yep, John.
No, I just had a quick question. So I'm hearkening back to the trails in Lincoln Crossing and some of the other topics. Just so I'm clear, do we designate some trails that bikes can be on and some that they can't? Where is that?
So our bike master plan has all of the areas that would be off roadways, which, are allowable, most of them. And some are designed specifically for bike travel. So one example, someone that knows this better than me, please help. But I think that I believe that one of the areas would be the areas that would be adjacent to in Lincoln Crossing, but the ones that hug the lake by Dubin and head that way. That's a bike lane and trail. The one that's in the nature preserve, I think, might technically meet that for bikes, but what's been discussed, I'm going to lean again on Schneider, where'd he go? I believe that there's some specific requirements in there that allow only pedal bike travel, not, motorized bike travel, and that's been their primary beef. And it's been difficult for them because, while I think our PD would be willing to enforce it, in fact, we've tried to do a little bit of targeted enforcement over there. It's really difficult to parse out sometimes whether somebody's just using the pedals versus the electricity to use it. Chief, am I missing some detail there? It's been a while since we've talked about that.
That sounds great to me.
Okay.
And I would just note that under item 11G, you actually approved a task order to update our bikeways master plan. So that will be coming to you
Right.
as soon as that's over, is completed as well.
And that'll include posted, e-bikes, pedal bikes, some more specific.
Yeah, I think a part of the plan is that we're always constantly expanding that, and Roland in our engineering department usually leads that. And it includes a lot of signage saying where it's okay and where it's not okay. Because some pathways are built for just pedestrian travel and they're not appropriate for bikes. So if you ever have gone to the American River Trail in Fair Oaks, it's a very wide trail that's built for both walkers and bikers. And then some are built for just people strolling. And you don't want, especially bikes that can move up to upwards of 20, 30, 40 miles an hour. It'd be like walking in a roadway, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, the one thing that I would recommend as part of this would be whatever fine dollar amount that we decide to start with, whether it's 50 or 100 or whatever it may be, provide the option for the class in lieu of paying the fee. So that one, it grabs the attention, but if they choose to pay the fee, but say, hey, so that we can get some better education out there. Well, instead of paying the fee, you can go to the class, not have to pay the fee. So you get that education in there. And if the fees, right, so, or still pay 50 cents. No, I'm just kidding. $500 for, because anyways, but having the ability to say, hey, we want you to be educated, and so you don't have to pay the fee. Go do the class.
Okay, well, it seems like we have ridden this item into the ground.
No.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Ben?
Second.
On? Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Carried? Good. All right. 12B, full reading, waive full reading and introduced by ordinance only, repealing chapter 5.40 of the municipal code entitled Fortune Telling and Occult Arts.
And so rather than stealing Ms. McKinney's thunder again, I will just say back to the podium
Yeah, you
is
pulled a
Deputy
Matt
City Attorney, Deputy City Attorney Christy McKinney.
Okay, hello again. So this has been on our list to do for quite some time. And we recently got a question from our planning department about one of these businesses. And we thought, you know what? Now's a great time to get it done. So just as some clarification to kind of understand what we're talking about, approximately 20 years ago or so, that Lincoln City Council passed an ordinance which regulated fortune telling and occult arts within the city of Lincoln. So the stated purpose of that ordinance at the time was to protect the safety and welfare of the citizens by requiring the people who were practicing these things to have some minimum qualifications. So our current ordinance not only requires a general business license from the city, but it also requires a criminal investigation or like a background check from the chief of police, and also a discretionary two-stage approval process, which involves the planning commission and getting a conditional use permit. So the ordinance, however, has a few constitutional problems. And I understand the irony of what I'm about to say. But the California Supreme Court held that fortune telling is a form of speech which is protected by the First Amendment. And this was in their case, the Spiritual Psychic Science Church versus City of Azusa. The U.S. Constitution does differentiate between commercial speech and non-commercial speech. Non-commercial speech comes with the highest form of protection. Commercial speech can be regulated to some degree. So the issue, one of the questions before the court in this particular case was whether or not when somebody is paying for a service, if that changes non-commercial speech into commercial speech where it can become more regulated. And the general answer to that was no. Just because somebody is paying for a service doesn't automatically make that speech commercial speech, which can be more regulated, which means that fortune telling, this type of thing, is a highest protected kind of speech that there is. So I am going to take you to law school for just a minute to show how a violation of the First Amendment is analyzed. This is essentially how the court would do it if a suit was brought on to the city on behalf or because of this ordinance. But don't worry, I'm not going to take too long. I'm not going to subject you to the Socratic method, which our professors liked to do for us. I just figured this would be the easiest way to kind of explain what the issue is. So if a court was going to analyze this issue, the first question they would ask is there a government act here? And obviously the answer here is yes, because it's a city ordinance. The second question that the court would ask is, does this ordinance burden expression? And the answer here is yes, because we are regulating a type of speech. The third question that the court would ask is the speech protected? And as we just discussed, the California Supreme Court has said, yes, this speech is protected. So the fourth question is a little bit more involved. And it is, what is the form of the law? Is it vague? Is it overbroad? Or does it give a prior restraint? And a prior restraint just means like we're stopping the speech before it starts. And the answer to all three of these questions in this instance is yes. And here's why. The ordinance is vague because the terms in the ordinance, such as occult arts or spiritual reading, are not precisely defined. So that means that an average citizen cannot tell where spiritual counseling, which may be a protected form of speech or a religious activity, ends, and where the fortune telling for profit, which is the regulated activity, begins. So additionally, the ordinance is vague because it doesn't clarify whether it even applies to retail sales of metaphysical type of goods, which are now a lot more mainstream than they used to be when we had this ordinance written. It is also overbroad because the current definition in the ordinance of occult arts is so wide that it could technically require a criminal background check of somebody who has a bookstore or a meditation instructor where they're selling tarot cards or crystals or whatever, things like that. And the ordinance does give a prior restraint because it authorizes someone in the government, namely the police chief, to decide who gets to speak and who does not. So the last question that the court is going to ask is whether the law is content-based. And here the answer is very clearly yes, because we're regulating a very specific type of content and applying additional regulations to it. So some other things to consider are that any legitimate concerns that police or anybody has concerning fraud or larceny, which is what this ordinance was trying to get at, those things are already in the California Penal Code and already in the California Consumer Privacy Act, so we're already covered with any of those, if any of those situations arise. And our general business license for the city, zoning for professional services, like this is sufficient to regulate these types of operations. And repealing this chapter allows these types of businesses to be treated equally with other types of businesses, which is of course the best practice, treating everybody equally. So we, in conclusion, we are recommending that this entire chapter be repealed to remove any risk of First Amendment lawsuit. Repealing this also frees up police and planning staff resources by removing any unnecessary investigative processes. And it's not going to have any effect on the city budget because these types of businesses are still going to have to apply for business licenses, just like anybody else. But now we're not going to need to spend the time or the money doing background checks and doing investigations. So we actually come out ahead. So that's it for my spiel. You're welcome for the law school lesson, and let me know if you have any questions.
And you will all be receiving your continuing legal education certificate in your email tomorrow. Good job, Chrissy.
Do you have any of these establishments in the city at this point?
I believe we only have one. And that was the question actually that the planning division brought up, because that business was here before this ordinance came into existence. And so they didn't have to go through this process, and now they're moving locations. And so they were like, do we have to make them go through this process and moving? So we're like, no.
It's Lincoln Psychic that was in the Jensen building, and they're moving over to where Bless Your Heart Market used to be.
But didn't they expand and they moved into the Gateway offices too? They had like 2 locations a couple years ago. We had this conversation about that.
Maybe. I
Yeah.
don't think they're there
Okay.
anymore, though.
So basically, we're just removing the ordinance because it violates free speech. Yeah, okay.
That's essentially it.
Yeah.
I could have just summarized it like that.
Yeah, no, I really loved your presentation. Thank you. Very, very well done. And you look amazing too. Your dress is awesome. So very professional. Thank you. Yeah, I'm in favor. I think, obviously I'm in favor of free speech.
Anyone else?
Mayor, you just need to, again, open the public hearing.
I'm sorry. I couldn't resist that. Okay, opening up public hearing. Mr. Nader.
Well, you may seek to reduce the regulation of this type of business, but you certainly can restrict where they're located, because we certainly do want to proliferate certain types of activities. And when I was on the council, we had to deal with this issue when it came to adult stores. The way we did that was we put in certain restrictions to where they could be located. And at that time, the only place they could be located was out on Gladding Road. So you might want to consider restricting where they can be located.
Anyone else commenting? We're on Zoom. Okay, bring it back to the council.
I'm looking forward to getting my degree in the mail. And I can't get my head around what it would be like for the chief to have that interview with a fortune teller. Anyway, it makes total sense to me, and I'm in favor. I'm good.
Yeah.
But the fortune teller would know.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I can just I'm glad you haven't had to do it yet, right? I'll move to adopt.
I'll second.
Discussion. It's not here. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And just for the record, we'll say it was 4-01, I guess, because Ben has stepped out of the room.
Okay, we have no general business tonight. City manager reports.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually do have a number of things. Stan, you might not want to leave yet. I have something on the water report, the water study. Okay, I'm just kidding, Stan. I can email you this in the morning if you want. So real quickly, I have a few more things than normal, but we've been on a break for a while, so I just want to make sure I get this out. I'll be quick. Thank you to Public Works during the storms. We had all hands. We had some people working nights, cleaning drain inlets, making sure that the storm system was working appropriately. We were actually a bit surprised based on the rainfall that was anticipated and what was received, we weren't sure that we weren't going to have some flooding issues similar to 4 or 5 years ago. The volume was slightly less than that, but still more than enough to create problems. And our system held very nicely. The creek systems didn't become overwhelmed to the level they did then. And a lot of that comes down to sort of some preventative maintenance that we've been working on and that team just being on it. And that was just, remember, during the holidays when everybody wanted to be with their families and those guys were out there. So huge thanks to them. Welcome to Captain Eaton, his, day 7 or something like that here. And so we're super excited to have him here. He was sworn in kind of during the holiday break, so we didn't have the typical full city turnout, but we'll make sure that you feel appropriately abused in the future, I promise. I want to just, I'm going to do this for Stan because I want to make sure I get to it first. So the Water Master Plan, which we've discussed sort of here at council level a little bit, and then a lot of electronic communication about it. It's been delayed a little longer than I think anybody would have liked. But what's really important about this document to us is that it's accurate and provides a good roadmap moving forward. It sounds and is, depending on what portion you're reading, incredibly boring, but it will inform how this community decides to fund utilities moving forward. It could represent a sea change in how we are providing water to the community 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years into the future. And the investments that are being considered for your consideration are not cheap. These are very, very expensive pieces of infrastructure that really define whether or not Lincoln can continue to be as independent as it is and make growth decisions as it would want to. So I've told the staff that are working on it to keep plugging along. What's more important to me than expediency is a document that we can really stand behind and explain. And so if you saw the red line document that I have on my PC that has 20 different people's hands on it, there's a lot of red on it. And so we want to make sure that we clean up as much as we can before it's ready for prime time. That said, we're pushing for either next meeting or the first meeting in February. And it may be such a voluminous document that it's something that we simply do a lengthy presentation on and you're not required to act. Everybody can marinate and poke holes in it. And then we'll bring it back with some edits and you can debate and discuss that. So that's coming. Let's see. Okay, 2 communications things I just want to address real quickly. So it's been reported, certainly everybody's probably received one at this point. We had a mistake made on a letter that went out to the community regarding your utility accounts. The mistake was literally a very small error in a mail merge that changed the service address on the letter, such that if you received the letter, it would say that your account was not associated with your actual address you live at, and that was simply a paperwork error that went out. It's not wrong in the system, although didn't help that everybody received it and reasonably had questions about it. So for the most part, people have been understanding, and we've had to do UB. Thank you to them. They've done a lot of work to try to say, hey, listen, our bad. We fixed it. We sent an amended letter that people should be receiving now if they haven't already. All is well. There is some work that on this new system we're going to have to, and we have help for people that they'll have to sign up if they'd like to do auto pay or online pay, but it's not onerous. It's relatively simple. And if you'd like help, we did a workshop Monday night at the library. We'll be doing another one tomorrow from 12 to 2 at the library. So if you want to come down and get somebody to help you figure out how to do this, please come down, free. Bring your neighbors, friends, whoever. Secondly, there was a bit of a kerfuffle about our solar project and the parking situation downtown. I will say that I'm responsible for everything here, and I'm responsible for the messaging. And There was some discussion prior to the holiday break about how much additional notice beyond, in my opinion, the significant notice we've been giving for a year and a half on the project. In retrospect, I wish we would have just sent another letter, although what we learned was that it had less to do with notice and more to do with a concern from the downtown that both parking lot closures would be just too much for the downtown to deal with. Fair enough. We were of a mind at one point that this is a painful project, and so perhaps it's best to just experience the pain at both lots and get them done and reopened as soon as possible. And so that's what we were hoping for. After speaking with a couple of business owners in the area, they were really concerned about that. So what we chose to do is we change ordered the project. The large parking lot behind City Hall is being constructed currently. In fact, I think they already have pillars up. As soon as that's complete and reopened, I hope that we will then move to the smaller lot, and we're going to help the downtown with some signage and some other creative ideas to direct people so that people just know, hey, look, there's still plenty of public parking. And the staff here have all very nicely agreed. We're trying to do what we can to park pretty far away so that there's enough customer parking for everyone else. So yeah, ride your e-bikes, sure, just not on the sidewalk. And what we hope, though, is that at the end of the day, what I try to keep reminding everyone is, hey, this is actually a really good thing. If you like parking under shade, I know I do, it's great. If you also like your local government saving $26.4 million over the next number of years, probably a pretty good thing. A couple of really quick other ones. Fiber master plan continues to move along. Jen Brown and I have been working on it. Primarily, she has been involved in some negotiations to try to kind of jumpstart how we might actually start phase one of the project, and primarily in the downtown and lettered and numbered street areas, so that we can get fiber service to those areas that don't have it currently. And then there's a lot of public benefits, which we will brief you on later. So that moves along. The superintendent and I met with one of the project representatives from Village One, and I don't want to jump the gun, but I think we're pretty close to a suitable school site in Village One, which would be a huge deal. And so since we now have learned a lot about how to help financing and get schools built, we're in a really good place from a collaborative perspective. And this is something that school district has been dealing with in Village One for over a decade at this point. So in a really good space there. We have submitted our pre-application and letter of interest to the All-American City program. We have some time left before our final application is due. The theme this year is civic engagement and transparency. And so we have a bunch of ideas about some interesting things that we've done. And there's a particular emphasis on technology, which I think fits into what we do here in a neat way. So we'll be updating on that, and will be some type of council action, I suppose, at some point soon. And then finally, we have EDC tomorrow. Aaron and Daniela have worked on and developed a sales tax sharing program, which we've learned that one of the comments we've received is that when new commercial projects come in, sometimes people are concerned about the brand of the business that's going in, and that's normal. I'm concerned about it. Our ability to control that is super limited in terms of telling them what to do and who to bring. However, you can incentivize it. We don't have a war chest of money to incentivize it, so one idea that we've already kind of gotten halfway down the road on with another project is coming up with sales tax sharing agreements, where if the developer of a commercial project brings us something very special that's going to generate lots of taxable revenue, one way to move the needle is to share that for a few years with to reimburse infrastructure that developer spends to build it with the developer, thereby lowering their cost to do it, which makes their ability to go get that marquee tenant that we may love, whoever they may be, here. And so she's going to present the parameters of that program that we've sort of developed to EDC tomorrow. Eventually, I'm sure it will make it to City Council. It's going to be probably a key piece to getting really what you want. And we learned today, we went on a little trade mission with Aaron in Economic Development, and Councilmember Eklund came along, and Nita, and we went and saw a couple of projects in Elk Grove. They're beautiful, beautiful projects with great tenants, and this is exactly what they did to make those happen. So it's not new, but it's new for Lincoln. And yeah, that's it. I think I hit everything. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Okay, we've gone through initiated business over here. Committee reports. Holly?
I have none.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a long break, so I'll have some next time.
And me also, John?
Oh, well, we had Liswa.
Let
Yeah,
Ms. White
we did
tomorrow.
that. I'll let you do that, John.
Yeah, we had Les Swan. Some of us that are new to that group are going to get an update on the expansion project in February. Watma met, nothing super big there. The operator is tentatively thinking that they'll reach compliance in the summer, which is pretty optimistic. So that's it.
Thank you. Ben? Okay. Good. Information items?
Well, I don't have an information item because I didn't jump on council initiated business, but I was just going to ask, can we set a new date for the skate park groundbreaking?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, now that it's nice and sunny,
Yes.
we will find a good date and have everybody out for the, yep. And actually, I think contractor, depending on the weather, is going to get out there pretty soon anyway, so good timing. Yep.
And anything? Information? On? Why? One evening. We're done.
Thank you, everyone.